Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to Town Hall Heroes, episode number 57. I'm Solid Jake, joined by Bearded Bros, and you know what? Let's just start off with those nice faces, those beautiful faces, and the nicest beard of them all with Mr. Dunktrain. Dunktrain, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
So Dunk, I assume everyone knows who you are, so we're not even gonna give you the blessing of saying much else than who
Whoa.
you play with.
I play with as in my teammates because
Yes,
I don't really want to
in
talk
your
about
squad,
those
like
guys.
no.
Uh,
Wow.
I play for Cloud9 Maelstrom. Teammates are Caffeine, Biceps, K1 Pro, and iDream. You may know us from the ESL Season 1 Majors playoffs last weekend, if you watched that little thing that happened.
Nothing important
Little
happened
thing. Few records might have been broke. It was little, but it was good. It was good. It was good. And we're going to talk about that a lot more today. But going down the line, Mr. Kevin Pearson.
Yo. So not a lot really has happened in the past week or so. I mean, just been watching a lot of heroes at work and not at work. So yeah.
Wink, wink, yeah.
So it was pretty cool. I was watching the EU finals tonight too. It was really really exciting, but we'll talk about that later. Other than that, not too much really going on, I don't think, unless I forgot about something.
I mean,
Hold it. No, never mind.
hold it.
Never mind.
No.
Wow.
Going down the line, Cubus Maximus.
I didn't get a lot done this weekend. Let me tell you why I didn't get anything done this weekend. All right, from 8 p.m. on Friday through the next 30 hours, I spent 20 of those casting. But it was all worth it. It was all. But so this is the part where we talk about what we did over the weekend. That's what I did. A lot of that. Good times.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Zoloff.
Lots of heroes. We're taking. It's kind of cool because we're taking the week off from just practice in general, because we have three people, the last three players moving into the house this week. So we just took the whole week off, let people spend time with their families and stuff. And I hadn't realized how much time I was spending coaching every week because I sit through all of our practices. We watch replays together, we watch scrims together. I'm there for all of it. So I've had the whole week doing nothing. And I also quit my job recently, so it's just I don't do anything. And it's awesome.
So did you grind hard on Final Fantasy? What'd you do?
I've been playing Path of Exile.
Oh,
They had a new hardcore league, 1 month league start, and I've been playing that.
you're such a sucker for that new flavor of the month. You just go hard at something, and then you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, once I die one more time, probably. Ripping pizza.
One more death. Well, my story is quite similar to Kubi's in the regard that we cast a lot. And that was pretty much my week. And then I streamed over 40 hours last week on top of the 20 hours we did. So it's been a good patch launch, I would say. It's been a good patch launch. Well, guys, today is going to be a very esports centric show, but we're also going to talk a lot about the new patch. We're going to get Dunk's opinions on Sylvanas, on the new map, where that will all fit into competitive play. We're going to be recapping Titan Arena 2. We're going to be looking, that was a week ago. We're going with ESL Majors, which happened over the weekend for North America, and Europe just finished today. And then meta shifts, new heroes, stuff like Divine Shield coming up and play, all that good stuff. And just starting the discussion, why don't we just open up with Divine Shield?
Ooh. I assume you want me to field this
Yes.
first.
You
I
are
guess that's kind of why I'm
support
here.
Yeah.
I have to pull my weight.
Role.
Oh God. So Divine Shield has kind of been lurking there as a potential pick for a while, with the most recent nerfs to Uther, where he lost Sprint and the increased cooldown on Divine Storm. A lot more teams feel more comfortable taking Divine Shield than Storm because it's so much harder to get in position. So I understand why they're taking it. And it's a really powerful and unique effect. There's no tools that do the same thing in the game at the moment. So it actually enables some really, really interesting things to happen. And since the metagame has gotten more aggressive and bursty and more fragile heroes, that contributes also to the value of Divine Shield. Because if you can block a Jaina combo, she's like a dead hero for 15 seconds. So that's really high value doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. If you it if used properly, it is as valuable, if not more valuable, than an Ancestral. Ancestral will bring someone from dead to full health, but you can negate so much damage that would do the exact same thing if used properly. It's harder
Also-
to execute, obviously, but it
Yeah.
has the same effect. If
Also,
used
not
right.
being able to stun whatever that target is. I think that's really the big part of it too.
Right.
Yeah.
I
The
mean, I love that
invincibility.
idea on Kerrigan, Sonya.
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see someone go whirlwind build, please. Make it
Please
happen.
don't say that. Please don't
Come
say
on.
Caffeine will
that.
do it. I know caffeine will do it.
I know in my Hero League game, I'm gonna get a Sonya Uther, and I'm like, guys, I got this. I'm gonna whirlwind Divine Shield.
King
I'll have to
Caffeine is
blame the
actually
loss.
excited already. I can tell. Okay, so I think Divine Shield's probably one of the more jarring changes, and of course, with the big rotation to Uther in general, we saw tons of play. I mean, yes, they took Sprint away. Yes, they changed the way his Ghost works. Overall, the Ghost of Uther, do you think that it's as good as as good as before, or not?
Dunk couldn't do it. He tried, and then he laughed, and I laughed, and Corey laughed.
Right.
The
It's
what,
just silly.
the goose
The
of
goose
Uther.
of
The
Uther,
goose of
bros.
That was probably the best misspoke I've ever done in a cast, and
It was not bad. Not
Oh.
bad.
Not bad.
so you think it's you think the Ghost is pretty good?
Yeah, actually, I think the Ghost might have actually been a buff to Uther, because a lot of times I don't think the stun you got in Ghost form was as valuable because it was harder to get in position after the wind-up time. Like, sometimes you got the really dumb Divine Storms where it was like, oh, I turned into a Ghost and now the team's not paying attention to me and I just get to walk into a 5-stack and Divine Storm them. Like, that happens sometimes, but it's not consistent. I think the new Ghost is, like, incredibly consistent and might have actually been a buff to his passive overall. So, like, I think it's more consistent, but it doesn't have as high of a variance, you know? So, like, the spike isn't as high of getting the ridiculous Divine Storm,
Right.
but the consistent value of the heals is just so high. Like, killing Uther first now, you'll just lose the
Oh,
whole
it's-
team
yeah,
fight to the
it's-
Goose because you can't kill someone.
The
Yeah,
Goose
that-
just keeps on bringing his eggs. He brings that
Goose is
warmth. He's
real.
got those Goose pillows,
And that
Yeah.
the down blankets. He just keeps the team
Yeah.
nice, warm, and healthy.
Redemption.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Redemption.
I don't want to talk about that.
I actually like it a lot. I
It's
think
good.
I think
think
it's. Go
I
ahead.
think as long as they keep it in some form like this, like where it's not like you can immediately deal with the fact that redemption just happened, instead of resurgence where they go back to their base and they're safe and then they just have map control like that. Like if you're snowballing a team fight and you've already gotten a couple of kills, well, guess what? If the redemption pops, guess what? That's worse because now you're gonna have that's just gonna go away and you're not gonna be able to really capitalize on it. So I think it's a really good trade-off for what it is, and I think overall I really like the changes for like the Ghost in general because they nerfed Divine Storm so much at level 20
I did.
that it's so much more worth it now to because yeah, you're right. You know, you used to be able to just walk into the middle of a crowd and just Divine Storm, but without Divine Hurricane, that just became so much harder.
Yeah, Hurricane got nerfed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
the
feel like,
redemption
I feel
is
like
fantastic.
if they got rid of Divine Hurricane but didn't change the Ghost, I feel like the Ghost would have been like, okay, this kind of sucks. But I think that was one of the greater things about the Ghost is like even if you die, you can still land those massive Divine Hurricanes, so you can play way more aggressive.
Okay. So, final point on Uther I would like to make is, Dunk, have you tried any tank Uther? They gave him Amplified. They gave him some weird changes. He has Holy Fire now, which makes him very interesting. This is
What?
something that I am
What?
really...
So much worse.
Holy Fire is
So
interesting.
It's worse than Burning Rage.
I
It's,
didn't
like,
know
all about it. It's
Immolation.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
I just-
Immolation was an interesting thing to have on a character.
I
Blew
think
my
it's...
mind actually
okay.
just saying that.
I like you, Dunk. You're a cool guy.
I didn't say it's
Okay,
good.
To be fair, Uther has always been like the tankiest support. I think adding block to him is totally fine. It's healthy. It's a reasonable choice on certain maps and certain matchups. Absolutely. Imposing Presence was an excellent choice before, and it still is. People are kind of getting overhyped about Benediction, I would say, right now,
Yep.
because Imposing Presence didn't get nerfed at all, and it's like one of the most broken talents on level 16 in the whole game.
Yep.
And people are like, kind of overhyped about Benediction. It has its place, but like Tank Uther is basically the same thing. You still just, I don't think you can ever get amplified healing realistically because Protective Shield is just so much better that I don't think you can ever justify getting amplified healing. But other than that, yeah, pretty much the same deal.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
Jake.
Brownie
No,
points to the
that
team
is
that does run
no.
without a tank and goes with Uther
No.
tank.
No.
No.
I don't think you can off tank with Uther. Like,
No.
I mean, you can. Or sorry, you can.
Tempo
off
Storm
tank,
did
but
it
I don't
once.
think you can main tank. You
Tempo
can't
Storm
main
did it
tank with
once.
Uther.
They did it once. Long
Did
time
they?
ago. Long time ago.
That
They
was
ran
kind-
with
That
Uther
was kind of
tank.
like a dive-in Uther.
First of all, that was SMG. I wouldn't let that shit happen. Second, second,
Money in the bank.
Tip jar.
second. Yeah, that. I remember that game. Did they win that? I don't think so.
I think they did. Dragon
They
Shire.
might have. I remember that game. It was funny though.
Yeah, that was a while ago. All right, moving on. EU. A lot of Abathur play. Thoughts?
Oh,
Around
so
here,
hard to
boys.
it's so hard to judge it without testing it. Like because we're not practicing right now, so we can't go and test it. But it looked surprising. Like the problem with Abathur on Sky Temple is you need the extra bodies for the shrines.
Yeah.
To help capture them. So that's why Abathur is just generically weak on that map. But they won with Abathur on the map, but it wasn't the most.
It wasn't because of Abathur. It was 0% because of Abathur that they won there. Like, people a lot of times will look at, like, oh, this hero was on this team in this game and they won, and, like, think that just because that hero was unusual on the map, that's why they won. But, like,
Viable.
that team just, like, threw the game by re-engaging against a Zeratul when, like, 4 of them had 10% HP, and they died one by one by one by one, like lemmings, dude. That's
Yeah.
why they lost the game.
A lot of
But, yeah, I think Abathur might be viable, but like Zoya said, I mean, it is really hard to tell because you look at those games and EU does some funny stuff, man. I don't know.
I think the game 4 of Fnatic versus G2, like when I think Fnatic finally got the memo on how to deal with Abathur, it seemed like, and they were just out pushing the Abathur, and that's when they were really just kind of, it just, I think Kalera said it. It was just like, the other 2 games, Abathur looked really, or one game that Abathur was banned, the other game Abathur showed up, he looked really strong, but this is actually really showing the downside of Abathur is that if you don't have that other body, if the ultimate evolution is down, it doesn't feel like it's going to be able to do that much still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Note to the public, Monstrosity was not picked. Please
Yeah.
Versus
stop picking Monstrosity.
both LDLC and G2 sets. I think was Abathur 100% pick banned.
No.
I don't think so.
I didn't,
It was
I
up-
didn't
it
watch
was
the
up
set.
there, though.
Every game I saw, either banned out, or I didn't see every game, but every game I saw, he was banned out or picked. I didn't know if it was actually 100% between those
It
two.
was over 50%, but yeah. So, all
I
right.
think it was about 80% with like any G2 game. It was probably about 75-80% like that Abathur was pick banned. It was really
Interesting.
high.
Is it because do they have like a really prominent Abathur player or something? Like,
That's ADRD, isn't it?
okay, and people are afraid of that, or I don't really know
It's-
that you've seen. So like,
Honestly,
I saw it today and I was really surprised. I just want to know if there's any backstory about that.
I find ADRD to be a stronger in person, like in the fight kind of presence. Like his play as an assassin is just always in your face and doing a lot of damage, but doing it in this way that he's always able to rotate out. Like he's a really smart and good player. I didn't really find his Abathur play too remarkable, but Abathur play is harder to find as remarkable, so it's
Yeah.
so
Hard to
it
notice
is.
what he's doing.
Yeah, and they didn't really like jump over to the damage stats or anything too much, if at
Yeah.
all. So I wasn't able to really get a good grasp of how much that Abathur was able to do.
It's hard to tell. Like there was a fight on Sky Temple where he was always ultimate evolutioning a hammer, and like they're always like, well, let's go in, but there's 2 hammers, let's not go in, and they just like Dunk said earlier, just like slowly kept dying off. I don't know how it's hard to tell. He is weird,
Yeah.
man. He is just weird. I'm gonna say it. They do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, they picked. I had a couple of notes, but it looks like
They did 4 support in Illidan earlier today, right?
Yeah.
That's Test Toronto, though, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
They also did there was one game, yeah, Fnatic on Sky Temple. I'm not sure if it was meant to happen, but they picked up the reduced trait on Diablo, which is 60 soul resurrection.
Oh yeah, I saw you tweet.
It's interesting. I
I
definitely
played
see
around
it.
with it and it was fun for like solo queue, but I don't know about competitive play. Like do you really want to go for something that forces you to die to use?
And you give up so much sustainability also. Like it's
Yeah,
it's a
lot
hard
of health.
trade-off.
A
I could
lot of
see it
health you give up.
on something like mines, maybe. Where it's gonna be really aggro and in your face. Do you know what map it was picked up on?
Yeah, it was Sky Temple.
I
From the
don't know.
games I've seen, mines is starting to be less of that anyway, just because of the changes, though.
True,
Like, early
true.
game
That's
fights are super aggro, but the games are not like you get a 100 skull golem, it's not GG.
We'll
anymore,
talk about
if
that.
You can defend properly.
yeah. We'll talk about mines after we just run through some heroes really quick. Just running through the list. Nazebo, Gargantuan. I know Temple Storm's liking it. Is it
Seventy-
actually better than Ravenous?
Old Ravenous, no.
The better,
New
the better
Ravenous,
question
probably.
is Nazebo worth playing at all? I understand that he's like a niche pick for tempo, but it's like comparing the two heroics is, I don't know. I think majority of the teams are just not going to play Nazebo with tempo randomly picking, not really randomly, but that's like their niche pick, and then going Gargantuan. So it's like
I'm torn on it right now because the team really likes it. I feel that Nazebo does, with the way we're playing him, a lot of unimportant damage. You'll look at the damage meters at the end, and it's like,
it's
whoa, this
inflated.
is really inflated. He's got so much
Right.
damage, but
it's like Stitches.
is it true damage? You
Right.
know, a lot of it comes from the spiders. We go spiders build where you're getting extra lot of damage with that. Gargantuan
Yeah.
does a lot of specialized toxin damage, and it feels really, really like when you look at the numbers, it's like, whoa, he's out damaging a Vala, but is it impactful damage? And not quite sold on that yet.
I
don't
mean,
think so. We'll
you
see.
can't deny how good Zombie Wall is, and a lot of damage dealers don't have something with that much zoning. So I guess I get the logic behind wanting to have Zombie Wall, and there's a lot of cool synergies that exist with Zombie Wall. But when it comes to damage dealer, yeah. Like,
There's just so many good damage in the game that until we see Nazebo like actually providing something that other heroes don't do, it just feels kind of inconsequential the damage he does.
But
I
The
think
slam-
that's the most important point, the one Zoe just brought up. It seems like in this patch, it feels like there's a lot more viable DPS than there were before, and you're seeing all of the fringe picks get kind of forced out in favor of Jaina, Vala, Sylvanas when she's not banned, like, and then a melee DPS, that sort of stuff. So it feels like Nazebo, Zagara, and Tychus all kind of got shunted onto those like side niche map specific picks, like depending on whether the team likes them, and you're gonna see Vala, Jaina, Sylvanas 100% pick ban rate.
Yep.
yeah, you can't argue that. But there is a lot of value in having that one hero that your team plays that no one else is like really bothered or even cares about. But like it was last picked every time for tempo when they played him. They're like, all right, we'll just save this damage slot till the end because we can make some other trades in drafting. And there's definitely some value, even if the hero is like 10%. Like everyone knows this hero is 10% weaker than the other damages. There is still some value there.
Yeah, I think Nazebo is good enough to see play, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether Gargantuan is better than Ravenous, I'm not convinced either way.
Okay.
I'm more conservative in that. I don't think Gargantuan is better yet, just because I know how good Ravenous has been in the past, but we haven't run it either, so, it's hard to say.
Interesting. Well, one thing you guys have been running is Kerrigan. And do you think it's just a meta shift that's bringing Kerrigan kind of back in? Is it a stylistic pick? Because we went from seeing almost no Kerrigan in Titan Arena and other tournaments, maybe one or two games on Haunted Mines specifically, like a very specific thing, to a pretty diverse pool of Kerrigan play in the playoffs.
Did we play any Kerrigan?
I think it was mostly complexity that was, especially
Oh,
with
really?
the really aggressive in
complexity.
losers
Complexity,
bracket match.
yeah.
That was
There was
Two
one
banning.
Dragon Shire
Oh.
match, yeah.
Oh, you
yeah,
guys.
it got banned.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
did you guys ban it? Like, who banned it?
Two art.
In the
Two
the
art.
last-
Banned
Arts
it against
yeah.
Complexity
Two
in the
art
losers
No,
bracket.
no. It was banned on Haunted Mines.
Oh, well,
And you
that's
guys'
fine.
set between.
Yeah.
between
Yeah,
Tempo
yeah,
and Elstar.
yeah.
Who banned it though? Which team banned it?
I don't know.
Probably-
Both of us pretty much agree that like Kerrigan is pretty broken on mines, so it could have been either one.
All right.
I think
I
it
don't
was.
know.
I think it was
Yeah.
you guys that banned her.
Okay.
I think you guys
Also-
respect ban Zeratul or something.
Yeah, Dream cries every time we give him Kerrigan. It's really funny, so that's why we don't play it that much.
Like Kerrigan's, it happens we've seen it like happen 100 times where Kerrigan comes suddenly back into the meta. People are like they just forget how to play against Kerrigan.
Yeah.
They feed like 20 kills in the early game. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you've lost that. Then 3 games later, it's like, oh, this is why Kerrigan fell in the meta because she's squishy. You can kill her,
Yep.
isolate her. She's really so like she's good for like, haha, we haven't run her in 2 months. No one's seen her. We're gonna catch you off guard, and then she falls out.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely has a surprise value like that. She's also really compositionally dependent. Like,
Yes,
there's some
that's
heroes that
very
she
true.
does absolutely jack squat if like there's a hero on the other team that counters her and she can just do nothing the whole game, and
Right.
like that's a miserable feeling, and you don't want to early pick it.
Yeah, it
So,
should
like,
be
it's hard.
saved for later picks for sure.
Yeah,
I think I might be wrong on this. I think Complexity or somebody was only playing Kerrigan if they had an Uther.
yeah.
And
Probably.
Uther wasn't on the other team.
Bingo.
That might be the
Um,
correlation there.
I think the
Like,
first
it-
time we saw it was the Divine Shield.
Yeah, Divine Shield.
and Maelstrom combo.
Because Maelstrom is
That in itself
completely
is really good.
useless right now. Like, if you get
It's useless to have Divine
Ability
Shield.
Maelstrom, to clarify, the ability Maelstrom.
yeah, the ability Maelstrom.
Correct.
You're right. It's just it's too nerfed. It doesn't give her enough sustainability anymore by itself. If anybody's smart, they just turn around, especially with like a Jaina on the other team.
Yeah.
Because Kerrigan's super slow moving when she's doing Maelstrom. So I don't know. But with the Uther Divine Shield, she does okay. She still does all right. Complexity was playing her super mobile though. They were
Yeah.
going for jump back to enemy or jump to friendlies as well as sprint, and I was just like, give up all the talent, full mobility,
Yeah.
give the Kerrigan the ability to get in and out, and I think that was one of her bigger issues before. You know, if you had rewind, you didn't have to worry about. You had like 8 minutes of CC, but
Plus,
without it,
there's some inherent risk in playing her as well. If you don't catch that really heavy early lead, like GG, you're not getting ahead in those team fights from like behind levels.
She
It's not
falls
gonna
off
happen.
harder than most heroes in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Post 13, she just gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And
Yeah.
not-
At
not
20,
weaker, just everyone else gets stronger.
yeah. At 20, when everyone gets bolt, it's like, okay, good luck hitting a combo.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of catch people off guard, like in the middle of team fights, and then even then still gamble. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have that huge lead.
No rewind.
And the games that we saw in ESL, it worked because they did get that early lead, and it was very impactful. Like, you know, even if you're not hitting your combos, having that 3-level lead, just getting pulls and having that Maelstrom is just so good. And I don't know if did we see Kerrigan lose? It wasn't played all that often.
I
She
don't
might
remember.
not have actually lost any games. So it was banned out a couple times. Probably didn't actually lose any games, but wasn't played that much. Still interesting.
Yeah,
yeah,
she definitely has an impact on the game. I mean, her ability to just roam and gank and just blow people up is.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point, Dunktrain. You have to be careful looking at it. It does look like really overpowered when you just see those couple of games that she was played, and you have to keep in mind that one, it is very compositionally dependent, and there's some metagaming, like meta within the meta, where it's like what's good in this couple of games.
Respect
and-
the Kerrigan and you won't lose.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that is
Yeah.
the bottom line. It's not an OP hero by any stretch.
I think my favorite game of the weekend, just as a single game, was when Complexity went to Dragonshire, picked up Kerrigan, and they were
Full
down
anger.
versus Tuark, and they just got like 36 kills in like a 12-minute game. They were just like angry,
That game
like
was
just
insane.
straight up weren't going to just destroy you.
It scared Tuark so much they banned Kerrigan the rest of the series.
They did. They actually banned him out. It was Zeratul
And
Kerrigan
other
banned
games
for the
and
rest
other
of the series.
too.
Hmm.
It was
So
fun.
that was
Yeah.
amusing.
That was an interesting game.
That
I'll use interesting.
Yeah, it was the
to be
most
nice.
one-sided game
That's
of the
the
entire
respectful
tournament,
thing to say.
hands down. Most one-sided game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is interesting that the most one-sided game in the whole tournament was the team that lost the series. Won
team
the
that
most
got fourth
one-sided
place.
game.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that was interesting.
I mean, we're already not even 2 minutes in, 6 kills. This is the actual game. I mean, it's pretty silly
Respect
stuff.
the Kerrigan.
All right, so moving on to Arthas. We've seen a little bit of Arthas play. He hasn't really seen any changes, any buffs whatsoever. It's just kind of a stylistic approach, and
That was game 1 of the very first series.
I think so.
Yeah.
We've also
Game
seen
one
it
of
in
the
Europe.
Very
No.
first series.
We've
and
also
then
seen
has
it-
it
Yeah,
been
yeah,
played at all in EU?
It was played in EU.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was.
with
they run-
Thrall.
they
I
run
was thinking about the
Singadosa
EU
in
game. I was
No,
thinking
no,
about
we,
the
it
Yeah.
was It was ran in NA as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
EU runs
one game.
Syndergaard,
That was the
which
one
is
game you guys lost
super
versus Complexity, right?
Yeah.
I think the very first one, yeah.
Yeah.
How did
It
you
was
feel?
our warm-up game. We
Warm-up
just
game?
logged on
Okay.
and like,
You have earned the right to say
yeah,
that.
yeah. We just logged on and we're like, we picked a composition we weren't comfortable with either, just for shits and giggles, I guess. Warm-up game. I don't know.
Nothing on the
It was
line here,
weird.
right? Just having some
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, you know, first game of the series doesn't really matter that much.
Interesting.
So
It's a good mentality. Do you think there's any merit to Arthas paired with something like Jaina because of the slow that he provides?
Again, it feels
He's-
risky.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it still has kind of that risk factor to it. Just because we have tried this out, we know that he's not as impactful in those team fights. So yes, there's a lot of potential to be aggressive early on, get that early lead, and then sort of make up for his weaknesses. But if you don't catch that lead once again, then you might be in trouble. And I think it worked out well in that first game of the ESL series. I didn't catch the EU game, so I don't know how impactful it was late game, but
he dumps damage, man. If you're not,
Yeah.
if you,
yeah, that's another thing we
Does
should bring up
lots
too.
of
The new
damage.
build with all the frost.
Oh,
one
the
counts is
D
pretty-
build? Give him the D?
Yeah.
basically, I mean, he does damage if he get into
Yeah,
melee
he had
range,
good
but
numbers.
yeah, it's so hard to get him into melee range. I think is the reason why you can't really run him like against good players and like against a composition that understands what's going on. Like you're not going to be able to get Arthas in melee range that easily. I think Void Prison was actually used in the EU games to get Arthas into melee range pretty frequently, and Void Prison kind of turned the fights into long, drawn-out brawl fests, which is where Arthas excels.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he was actually pretty decent in those matches.
Interesting. That's why I brought up Jaina, because she's now ridiculously good. She does provide, the potential of 35% slow. Sylvanas also has that slow late game, so I was like, okay, maybe this is something that can really bring Arthas back into a pretty viable position. So just curious to hear the thoughts there.
Well, I think EU. I might be wrong on this. They were running it with a double tank, weren't they?
Not always.
all I
Tank with
remember was
Arthas?
Syndra. I don't think-
Sometimes.
The game I saw, there was only Arthas tank, and he went Syndergaard, so.
They picked up Thrall in a game with Arthas also.
Yeah,
Which
that's a
is
game.
Yeah.
I saw.
Yeah.
For all Arthas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good point. Is that he just has 0 gap closers except for that Howling Blast, and that's pretty easy to project where it's going to go. So
Mhm.
if you can close that gap, he's good.
Plus-
if
plus
not,
a 12-second cooldown on top of that too, if you miss it.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Even with
He's,
the-
oh, go ahead.
Even with the nerf the stitches, though, I think Warriors are in a really good spot right now. There's
Yep.
plenty of solid ones, so something else would have, like something weird would have to shift with
Dubarek.
the meta. Not yet, Kev.
Not yet.
Soon. Maybe one day. But
And
something
Dubarek
weird-
Hero
needs-
was that?
Yeah, that was
Sorry, what?
some time ago.
Sometime.
Stitches would be fun to talk about. I think.
Go ahead.
His place. It seemed kind of like Maelstrom was the only team that was very successful at all in running Stitches. How do you
That's
feel
because
about
they're
that,
freaking
Derek?
disgusting with stitches. I hate it so much.
Those hooks were just
And his
so
hooks.
good. That's
Yeah, King Kevin has the god hand. I don't know.
He is so-
Yeah.
He was landing them, and we were highlighting that too. We were making sure, like, okay, everything is about the hook at this point, and if you're not hitting the super impactful ones, then you can't. I don't want to say like you can't be like a brain dead Stitches because like it seemed like you could kind of get away with that before. It was like, all right, we'll just putrid bile and just tank and get into the enemy team.
Right.
We're
Pretty
we're
much.
effective enough, but now they've tweaked him just enough so that if you don't get those hooks, you are going to lose. And so
Yeah,
I
I
think
think-
that's actually good. I really like that.
Yeah.
It seems like great changes.
I think he's in a healthier place for a hook hero because like it wasn't really cool that Stitches could be like the best tank and also have hooks. If that makes sense, like his
Right, yeah.
impact in a fight was just like way too absurd, and then his hook was just like, oh, if you hit it, you can win the game for free, but you don't need to hit it to win the team
Right.
fight anyway, because you do insane AOE damage for free and like stuns and stuff. So
Right.
actually, I think it was a really healthy adjustment.
So now we see who the good Stitches are.
Damn.
Dude.
Shots
It's
fired.
true. It's true though. It was so evident in the tournament.
It-
If you weren't hitting the hooks, then you didn't win.
I mean, we literally cast a series where it was like whoever had Stitches lost.
Yeah, it was like the first couple series were like that. And
It was
okay,
just like,
this is-
okay, if you pick Stitches and you're not getting the hooks, you lose the game, and it really felt that way. So
Yeah.
it's
And,
nice.
Hey,
it's nice to
any
see.
changes that they make where it really can highlight the
Skill.
of a player and a team that can work around it, I'm all for that because it's
And-
just so much more exciting.
C9 just happens to have this like mind meld where like as like it just seems like I've noticed that when the hook isn't probably going to hit, which is very rare, like they don't spend that many abilities. I don't think there's times that I've seen abilities spent, like back when Dunk used to be playing Tyrande all the time, and there's the Tyrande Lunar Flare hook into Lunar Flare. It's just like they just kind of knew that this hook wasn't going to hit, but it was just every time the hook hit, capitalized immediately, dead.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You just gotta believe. You gotta believe that the
gotta
hook's
believe.
gonna connect, and you throw that lunar flare out, and they just get evaporated. And actually, on that point, let us talk about that game where Cloud9 Maelstrom, Mr. Dunktrain himself, decided to grab a little ability called Shadow Stalk, and you had a Judgment Material.
That was so hype.
That game was amazing for us.
Wait, was that
Oh my
was that
God.
Tyrael again though?
Yeah, Tyrael.
Yeah.
They would Judgment and just destroy the
yeah,
target.
yeah.
They would get vision, and they would just hunt and kill whatever they wanted.
Because they were running Nova
Yeah.
to counter the what was it, Lost Vikings, right? And it was kind of working. Then you're like, nah,
Not the Vikings.
Not the Vikings. Nova was actually really effective against us in a Blackheart's Bay game earlier, I think in that series.
Yeah.
And we just we didn't take the decisive action in that game that we needed to punish the Nova, and we didn't have vision tools. So when I saw her get drafted in that game, it was like, oh shit, we have Tyran. We'll just pick Tyrael and go hard.
And you guys did.
And
I like it.
God,
The
Oh,
annihilation was real.
We were not ready for that in the cast. We saw Shadow Stalk, and we're just like, whoa, what?
And
Like-
then it happened immediately after. Like as soon as that
Yeah.
hit, you guys went in.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Illidan was on the right side of the map. It was right near the Giants, and you guys just rotated, and he was dead in an instant, and it was
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah, that game we were so hyped for the Shadow Stalk. Once we saw what was happening in the game,
That's cool.
that game could not have possibly gone better for something that was just oh man, this is really cool. Let's do it. That game, things just lined up. Sometimes things just line up in a game, right? You can't necessarily say that it was that good, that the strategy is that overpowered. But it was just the way it lined up. It looked so good, and it was so much fun. So I was really happy we got that opportunity.
It was a cool game. That covers pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in terms of heroes. I don't know if there's something else I'm missing that you guys are thinking of that might have shifted in terms of just playstyle, hero picks.
Heroes. Let's see. Didn't see too much Chen. I don't know about you.
Yeah, Chen
I mean-
seems to only be played on Curse.
Hammer. I just want to get your thoughts on Hammer because I personally don't think that the HP nerf was enough to make her played not at all. It's
Pretty
played
bad.
EU.
It's a pretty big hit.
It is
Was
played
it
in-
300
it's
huge
big,
hit.
but it didn't
It is a
affect
pretty
her.
big hit.
You think it's enough to make
Okay.
her not play it at all?
Here's the thing. I hate Sergeant Hammer. With a fiery burning passion. So if it never sees play again, I'm happy with that. So I'm not gonna say anything to anyone about whether she's viable or not anymore. It doesn't actually matter. I don't want her to exist because she's anti-fun. So I
Click adventure.
absolutely hate Sergeant Hammer. So I'm really happy actually that she's out of the meta. I'll leave it to EU. They can decide if she's good or not.
Okay.
You guys ran a lot of buttwing this weekend.
Oh yeah.
We
Yeah,
did
I
run a lot of
I had that
Buttwing
in my
this
notes
weekend.
was that Brightwing was played a couple of times. Blackheart's Bay, we always see. We actually normally see a Brightwing on Blackheart's
That
Bay.
actually. Oh, you mean in that map in particular?
Yeah.
Oh,
I,
the right wing played.
it's my pick rate for Brightwing on Blackheart's Bay is really high, but other maps not so much.
I'm looking at my
Weird.
notes here, and you guys specifically ran Brightwing 4 games versus us. I didn't write down the other games, but you guys, Brightwing's she's always in and out, man.
She
Find
is.
a place, Brightwing. Find a place.
I know place.
Yeah, well,
Like-
every time he finds a place, he phases out of it.
Oh,
Ooh.
Gosh.
That was okay.
Alright.
That
That
was-
was-
That was decent. That
Okay.
was decent. I'll give you that one.
All right. So
I,
is it because of shift in the meta? I mean, go ahead. You have a point, obviously.
I just love playing Brightwing personally, and I might even overdraft it for that reason. But whenever I'm playing Brightwing, I feel like I have a chance. Whenever I'm playing Brightwing, I feel like no matter how messed up the game is, how silly the team fight has gotten, how ridiculous everyone's positioning, I feel like I have an opportunity to make a play.
She's a
whether it's
playmaker.
Yeah, whether it's a polymorph or an Emerald Wind, the right phase shift on the right person at the right time, feels like you can always win the game or win a team fight at least on her if you play it perfectly. And like that is something that I really, really love. So I love to pick Brightwing into our compositions because I feel like if you can wreck a team fight with an Emerald win, like that is a really rewarding feeling, and not many supports have that opportunity.
And I just want to compliment you guys because there was a game where you guys had EDC, Brightwing, and Falstad, and you guys abused that global presence to some. Like, that's the kind of thing that we theory craft, you know, that like, oh, this could be ridiculously strong, and then we just see it pulled out and have massive success. It's good to see. It's really
Hey
good to see.
guys, Maelstrom beat other teams. Can we talk about those games? The only games Maelstrom crushed Tempo Storm, right? There are other games that happened
Sorry,
this
you guys
day.
get crushed a lot.
Damn. Second place, they get crushed a lot. Yep. Okay.
To be fair, we did play 9 games with you guys that weekend. That was a lot of
It
games.
was a lot
4
of
against
games.
complexity, and that's it, right?
It felt like
Yeah.
your Brightwing, like at least to us, and your team, like you guys like Brightwing either with the Elden or against it to polymorph him and shut him down, which felt really
Yeah.
strong from the games we saw.
I theorized that was the original reason that she was getting picked, but then it just sort of seemed like she was mixing in well with the rest of the compositions too. It's like, all right, this is probably to deal with Illidan. Oh, it kind of works out pretty nicely here and there as well. So
That's the only reason we started playing it.
yeah,
But like I kind of just like fell back in love after playing it a few games, and now
yes,
I just
like
play it
you
all the
said,
time.
Run Emerald Win now too. Before it was like when you went Brightwing, you went Blink Kill.
Blake Hill still got a
I
place for sure.
never play Blink Heal. I
Wow.
hate Blink Heal.
Wow.
I'll like never play Blink Heal on Brightwing. I mean, even if it's gonna cost us the game, I probably won't pick Blink Heal.
Even if you desperately needed cleanse and you had to give up gust of healing,
Yeah.
you would go for Emerald Wind.
I feel like if you have to pick Blink Heal on Brightwing, you probably messed up your draft really badly, because I don't think that Blink Heal is like a thing.
Okay.
I think if you're picking Blink Heal, like you messed up. You done goofed, son, and
done
you should
goofed.
probably
Yeah.
rethink some life decisions if you're picking Blink Heal.
Especially
Interesting.
since supports are in a really good spot.
It's
There's
true.
So many
It's
supports
true.
that if you want healing, like from Blink
Mhm.
Kill, you can play Lily.
And
Yeah,
the fact that Emerald Wind can flat out win a fight is
Yeah.
kind of hard to pass up too.
Oh, unless you're in like a solo queue game or something. Like
Well, that's a different story.
Right,
That's,
yeah, that's
we're
a
talking
different story,
competitive
but, like,
right now.
yeah.
We're talking
I
competitive.
didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings who's like playing Hero League and like, I like to pick Brightwing and go Blink Heal. Like my team never has another healer. Like, okay, that's fine.
That's good to
I'm saying
clarify.
for competitive,
Yeah, that's good to clarify. I pulled up this Tyrande game versus Tempo Storm for Jared,
course.
just for Jared here. So we're
That
just
was
gonna
the
watch
garden game
this.
where we
Level
got
10
wrecked.
has just been
Oh
hit.
God,
Just wait
Oh,
for
this
it.
is it.
this
This
is
is
so clean.
I remember like at that point, I was like yelling. I was like, "Oh my god, I got Shadowstock!" And it's
And it's like
I mean,
just
he
like
died.
insta
Oh.
kill with
Yeah.
Shadowstock.
Yeah,
That
that
was
kill
really
was so
smart.
nice.
Like, I mean, that's not a composite. Like, at least from the games I've seen from you guys, that's not a comp that you guys like. Shadowstock Tyrael? No, that's not.
No,
That
no.
was such like from a drafting mid-tournament perspective, that was
Yeah.
brilliant.
That was
it
a-
was so well executed and smart, and
Yep.
I hate
Yeah,
you for it.
it just like it kind of ended up like I tweeted about it, but like Caffeine and I had kind of talked about like, oh, could Shadowstock be played? Like, oh, maybe. Like, I don't think Starfall is like that broken that it doesn't define Tyrann. So like,
No.
certainly Shadowstock could in theory be good enough. And like Nova, I remember I used to play a lot of Nova, and I think this is the only
Yeah.
reason I thought about it, because like Shadowstock Tyrael used to be the thing you did against Nova. So when we had the Tyrann and hadn't picked our tank yet, and they had Nova, and the rest of their lineup actually wasn't that good against the strategy either, I mean, it was just like a perfect blindside. It couldn't have happened better for us, honestly. Even though it wasn't something that we like specifically prepared and drilled, that sort of thing, you know?
It was beautifully executed. Like every time, the judgment was always a Toronto stun, and it's just like you don't even need 5 people to kill the target because there were so many squishy target
Right.
it's on the Tempest Storm lineup. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really sick.
So, Jared, I brought up the Nova really quick, and we thought it was for Vikings. You said something else, or is that
No.
you felt it was
Nova versus Vikings? What? Why would that be?
because you can not see them on the minimap?
You could just
and
kill Eric.
Quickly snipe
I
them.
mean,
it kind of works.
Oh,
But
like,
what was
it
the
was
real
mainly
reason you guys were
for,
grabbing it? That's what I wanted to hit you up for.
looking at the Nova games real quick.
Because I don't remember seeing anything in particular in the draft that was like, okay,
I
Nova
mean-
deals with this hero particularly well. So
if played right, especially post 20, Nova can destroy like Jaina easily. Like
Yeah,
done.
that's true.
Vala cut opposition, done for. So on Garden of Terror specifically, not going back to the Blackheart's game, but Garden of Terror, where most games go to the point where they're post 20, having that ability to just completely take out a Jaina for a minute and a half is like
It's true. I would argue that Jaina could kind of do the same too.
yes, but she doesn't have stealth.
Okay.
Stealth health.
All right.
All right.
Any final points on
We're
heroes?
just talking about heroes.
Yes, heroes.
Yeah.
Sylvanas is going to be the next thing. So
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Tyrael,
Jaina
but
is
nothing
God tier. Officially.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Officially
yeah.
a
Fair to
God
bring
tier
that up
hero.
really quick. All those buffs in the last patch.
she's
The Mutalisk nerf to Zagara
Yep.
hit her harder than people probably expected.
Yep.
yeah, it definitely did.
She's not bad, but
I still think she's a
noticed.
little bit more map dependent now, in terms of like just abusing the creep vision. Like I think she's gonna be so good on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Like I just think having that vision, you can just
Oh,
I don't
yeah, I
know.
was doing that in Hero League. I was just making giant creep highways between all the lanes and just running around.
you just
It
make a
was
creep highway between the middle,
hilarious.
and you get vision on the turn in, and you just be
Yeah,
obnoxious.
that's what I was
with it.
doing. That's what I did. A giant line down the middle. And I
Yep.
was just like, you guys can't do anything. And I can push all the lanes too. That was, I feel like that Muta nerf. Okay, so question, because I don't actually remember. Did the original Muta buff also give it 50% extra duration?
Mm.
The
No,
like
it
when
was
the
a
talent
bug.
was first implemented, that was part of it.
That was part
I'm
of
not
it?
sure what you're asking.
Well, yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
remember if that was initially part of the talent or
It
if
got
that was like
splash
the
and
constellation
longer
prize
duration.
because
Yeah.
they nerfed it.
No,
No, it had
yeah,
duration.
so that's it
the-
really does. It's really rough now because you have to be really choosy with your targets if you're going for Muta.
that was an unintended
Well, you
bug
shouldn't
though. It wasn't a nerf.
Yeah.
It was an unintended bug that they
Well,
quote
Zagara's
fixed.
an unintended bug, but I mean,
She is.
He's been on the rise for a few weeks, and I don't think he ever left the EU meta, but mainly because of 2-Arc. Zeratul is starting to have a rise in the NA scene.
Which is exciting.
I don't know how much of a rise. I don't think he'll ever be 100% like pick banned or whatever, but
You guys banned him.
he feels kind of back. Yeah, they 2-Arc depend. We'll talk about that series later, but 2-Arc.
Yeah, I
That's
think
a
the thing with
very-
Zeratul, I feel like Zeratul's kind of in that Kerrigan boat where people like forget that Void Prison can just win a game. Like Void Prison is the most high variance, absurdly out there ability in the whole game. So like your Zeratul can cost you the entire game or win you the entire game with one button press, and that is terrifying. So like, are you gonna see it all the time? I'm not sure, but I mean, you always have to remember it's out there because it's such a powerful effect.
yeah,
That's very true.
I like these kind of heroes though. I don't think we've really seen this in too many other games that they just kind of like poke their head. Well, actually, no, we have seen it in other games, but I just love that type of like mechanic where they can just poke their head in, do some work for a weekend, and then just kind of like head out.
Every hero doesn't have to be God tier.
Yep.
There always should be heroes that are situational picks. And
I agree
Flavor of
wholeheartedly.
them
That's why I love the Stitches change.
Speaking of which, ETC, guys, I don't think you guys watched the EU finals, but holy crap, there was a mosh pit of gods in Game 4 of G2 versus Fnatic. Literally, 5 people stuck in the mosh pit and ended the game.
doesn't sound like a competitive match to me. Pros would never let that happen.
Fnatic.
Whoa!
So yeah, I love your shots fired.
Shots, boys. I
And
mean,
we haven't
I-
seen dance in a long time.
No.
I know.
And then
that's what
they-
I'm saying. That's
Was
why
it
I
so-
brought it up.
We've seen it on Sky Temple a little bit, like here and there through in events.
I want to say it wasn't run.
I think it was run a couple of times during the finals.
ESL for North America was not
For
picked
EU,
once.
for EU.
Oh, maybe
For
EU.
EU,
North
EU
America
it's
was-
run. I was trying to say NA.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No,
Yeah,
wasn't
I
picked
don't
once.
think
it was
ever
run at
picks
all.
Mosh Pit.
No.
I was actually really surprised to see an ETC had Mosh Pit on Sky Temple, one of the maps where Stage Dive is just extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was really surprised to see Mosh Pit there.
I mean,
I don't.
the last time we saw it in NA was when Sky Temple was first implemented, and that's when ETC play was still kind of young, and we were seeing Mosh Pit used in those games at that point in time in North America. So,
Yeah.
but that was
the
Oh.
split.
That was
push
6,
hadn't
6,
been,
7,
like,
8 weeks ago. Like that was a good while
well,
ago.
it gets run every once in a while. It has. I don't think it's been that long in a competitive game in NA that it's been run.
Before
but
I've seen a decent amount of use at least.
people are really starting to get used to the stage dive and the ability to split push with it and everything. It's
I mean, how many clean stage dives did we see onto Jaina that just put her in a position where she was pretty much screwed?
should
And-
be like, no, I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. You just wait for that moment. You see that half health Jaina, and you just go in and you say you're going to end her, and you do it, and it has a huge impact on the fight. So
If you want to see good stage dives, one of the better players is Urho, and his consistent games I've seen from him.
it's true.
He
Yeah.
always lands really good stage dives. Dunk's raising an eyebrow. He doesn't
No man,
necessarily agree with me.
the impact in those games this weekend that Urho was having on ETC was huge. He was flat out just turning fights with stage dives. So it was some good
Because
stuff.
no matter where you go in the team fight, if you're going into like a 4v5 and you got your ETC roaming around, it doesn't matter how they position their team. Stage dive gets to get in no matter where they're trying to keep everybody safe. And guess what? You're no longer safe. It's just like
It doesn't turn into Diablo.
Well,
you're no longer safe. I don't know how
Yeah,
he
brother.
actually says.
It does turn into it does
Hulk
turn into
Hogan?
Randy.
Okay.
You're up to 11.
all right, let's
Yeah, he got, like, a
transition.
Hulk Hogan voice.
Let's transition over to Sylvanas, the newest hero. Of course, she was banned out in North America. She was playable in Europe, and she was played or banned in maybe 100%, maybe 90%, a very high amount of games in EU.
She's
Yeah.
stupid. She's so dumb. What a dumb. Are you kidding me? How can something be that powerful out of the gate? Wow.
Going in.
She is. Her damage, if played right, it is ridiculous. She can keep up with like a Vala, and the fact that like you can just solo a tower with no like threat, like she's dumb. She's dumb. I don't know what else to say. She's silly.
I'm really worried that like Sylvanas is going to usher in an age of like really anti-fun like backdoor strategies.
Yeah.
That's what I'm actually scared of. Like her actual team fighting I think is overtuned without a doubt, but I think the really scary thing is just the dumb things that can happen because of her passive. And I think I hesitate to call it this early, but I do think that she's probably going to get nerfed really hard to the point where eventually she won't be able to see competitive play with the passive that she has right now because like I don't think it's going to be healthy. I don't think they're going to be able to find a healthy place to balance her where like she can have that passive and be viable and not broken.
Do you think the passive would have to be something that's like activatable?
I don't know. Like
I would think actually, you know what? I would think like an activatable with a long cooldown would be great because I completely agree. It's just the passive. There's no way to balance it for it to be passive and for it to work. I mean, there was times when we would see like a Sylvanas. This might have been something else I was watching, but a Sylvanas was pushing one lane with 2 siege giants, and she was able to take out a fort just as quick as 4 people pushing a lane that had no heroes defending it. It was like, what?
in a split push scenario where one team's pushing one lane, the other team's pushing the other lane. If you were to say this was on Cursed Hollow and one team has a curse, who has the advantage in that push? Because that's basically what Sylvanas does. If you're good enough, like, you don't even have to be good at it. You don't even have to be good at
Yeah.
it. You just
She's a mobile
spam,
curse.
You make it to where your Q hits one tower and you're right-clicking the other one. They're both permanently frozen. Then you can just W a mini-lave and that gets all frozen. Like, she's
Yeah.
legit a curse from Cursed Hollow. Like, it makes no sense how strong she is, man.
I mean, it's a cool concept, so
Absolutely,
I would, I wouldn't go so far as to say it makes no sense because, like, I think it's a cool concept. I just think, man, like we've ended games on Haunted Mines in the first Golem because the Golem doesn't take any damage. You can
Right.
end games with like a 4-man on a keep, like, and you take 0 damage. You're under no threat. They can't fight you off their keep because their keep's not actually helping them at all. Like that sort of thing is
structure in the way.
really powerful. Really. Maybe they should tie that into like possession. Like maybe give her, like, make her give up Wailing Arrow to get like that type of thing. You could do something like that. But like Sylvanas is really powerful.
I think like if they move the trait to like only on her W, to where like you can like take out a whole wall or something for a second and then give her a new trait, but it can't just be all your spells plus your autos just disable something because there are some like ridiculous. It's not even just on Haunted Mines. Like if you're pushing with a boss on Cursed Hollow or Blackheart's Bay, that thing, if you do not react to it, it will get to your core full health.
Yeah.
It just won't die. It's.
What if she drains mana while she's using it?
That's
You
interesting.
mean like you
that's
turn
like
it
that's
on?
like
while she's hitting a structure that's
I like that a lot. No,
she drains a certain amount of mana. And you
that's like
She
Ash.
doesn't have any mana problems right now. If you
Right?
added the mana
Yeah.
management dynamic, that could be interesting.
Kubi.
Yeah, like,
How shocked were you guys when
really
you
good.
found out that the Q didn't cost mana? Like on the first day, you're sitting there, you're spamming Q, you're like, well, why's my mana going down? It's like, there's no
Takes
mana
like a-
cost on
Yeah.
this?
a 60-second fight, and you're like, "Oh, guys, gotta go back on them," and then it's still gonna matter because
I like that a lot because again, I haven't played a lot of League, but if I'm not mistaken, that's how Ash works. You activate, and then all of her auto attacks slow,
slow.
correct?
slow.
But and it costs you mana, and then you deactivate it, and your auto attacks don't do that. So the
That's
principle will be
really
the same.
smart.
You hit D, you turn it on, and then you have that freeze, and it's gonna work. But if not, you turn it off, and then you don't have it. I think that'd be a brilliant fix for her, honestly.
Like it's still really early, but she definitely feels really strong, and I definitely agree. I agree with Dunk that she will be 100% pick ban right now.
Yeah.
But that is a balance change I see that could be a step in the right direction. We'll have to play with it more, but no, she has the potential to be ridiculous.
All right, let's counter chat, or not counter, but we'll converse with chat right now because chat is saying Sylvanas is bad. A couple of people are saying you need to just send somebody up there to deal with the Sylvanas. What do you guys say to that kind of thing? Because for the most part, you have to put more resources in to deal with the Sylvanas than the Sylvanas. Like the amount of time, as soon as you realize that Sylvanas is up in a lane and doing damage, you've already taken a ton of
It's
damage.
too late. Yeah,
And then
it's
you've
too late.
you already have to submit more resources than the Sylvanas is even worth as one person.
that and Haunting Wave is really good for escaping.
Yeah.
So like, let's just say let's say you were potentially able to just 1v1 Sylvanas or be in a lane with her and negate what she's doing just fine. You know, you're equaling her push or whatever. That's fine, whatever. But it's her power as a pusher with your team that makes her really scary late game. If your team was to win a fight, or if the Swan team was to win a fight and it's like three people left versus one, that power is just exponentially better because the fact that you can just stand between the two keep towers and ping them both and keep both of them attacking. So now you have this 3 waves of minions pushing into this keep with you, and it's just insane. Her individual power is not like her by herself. It can be scary, but you can deal with it. But it's what you can do with her as a team with a push that makes her ridiculous.
What
But
do you
like
think? What do you think about
should-
talents like Overwhelming Affliction and Cold Embrace and their impact on fights?
Which ones are those? I don't know.
Embrace is like the vulnerability.
Vulnerability,
on
right?
16. Yeah.
Oh.
Overwhelming is the slow, so it turns her into Jaina in some regard. Every time she hits you, it slows up to 25% with her auto attacks. And then 16, that Cold Embrace, is the Hunter's Mark, if you will.
I don't think the slow is that impactful, but the mark is good. I think right now, the number of marks in the game, the vulnerability, are relatively few, and it feels like you have to put a specific effort into draft one, I would say. And I think that's healthy because like it's a really big upside when you have it. I think the mark talent on her might be a little too free, but overall I'm not like that concerned with it. It seems pretty fine.
Okay. Well, I think we all agree that she's an interesting hero. It's going to be fun to see her unfold. Of course, she's very new. We haven't seen her played at all here in the North American meta. We saw a lot of play in Europe, and
Yeah.
definitely expecting her to have a splash. But
Yeah. Is this the first time we've seen the kit of a hero before we know any numbers and like accurately? Well, let's assume that she's
pretty much, we
really
talked about
broken.
Vikings, and we're like, we think they'll be good, but we don't know yet, and they're taking a while.
Yeah,
to
that's
take
usually how
off,
it
but-
feels when a hero is like thrown in. We're like, we'll see. This is like everyone's kind of like, yeah, it's
gonna be pretty
good. So, but I guess we'll find out when we see
Yeah.
the first set of competitive games with her.
It's going to be exciting to see what the teams can figure out and pull off with her.
Yeah, first set of competitive games, guys. I know they were playing the EU, but
I
competitive.
said
Oh,
NA. I
it's-
said NA, buddy.
I mean, I didn't
knew
get.
you were going to
I saw a
throw
few
me
of the
under bus
games,
for that
and
one.
I wasn't overwhelmingly convinced by the EU games, but I thought it looked good. I didn't look at it and just be like, "Oh, this would be infinitely better because they don't if they had Tychus." Like I was like, "No, this is having a big impact on the game, especially more so when you have an advantage." We talked about that, the fact that when you have an advantage, the ability to just push in. If you have a golem and you can escort that golem with Sylvanas and have the rest of your team just push mid on Cursed Hollow, oh my god, that's disgusting. Like so there's a lot of implications like in those kind of scenarios where she becomes very good. But let's switch over to talk about Spider Queen. What do you guys think about this map? I know we haven't seen any competitive games. Also was banned out in EU for the major leagues, but
It's different.
It's different.
It's got a lot of really weird and somewhat, I mean, not counterintuitive, but I think like you have to really think of it in some weird strategy senses in a lot of ways. I've realized that at least in solo queue and hero league, it's better to let your opponents start pushing in or freeze the lane than it is to like over push your lane, because if you over push your lane and you're killing their creeps next to towers, well, you have to go pick up gems under towers and leaving yourself super vulnerable.
and that's truly
So it's
outrageous.
better to have your opponents like pushing in or remotely freezing. It's a really weird map for that mechanic, and there's just so much laning.
So much roaming and ganking.
Most of the map is lane. That's fair.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the map mechanic yet either. Like, I would say the map mechanics that feel really impactful and fun are like Sky Temple, for example. Like, people will argue that it's like snowbally or too powerful, whatever. I'm not really concerned about that. I'm concerned about how it feels. And like when I'm on a shrine in Sky Temple, I feel like I'm accomplishing something, and like it's now that objective is the center point of the game's existence. And when I play Spider Temple, I don't feel any connection or care about the map mechanic, because like it's not like Black Hearts where you can't deny turn-ins because there's two, and like I understand it's powerful, but like it doesn't feel rewarding. It doesn't feel interesting like those, I would say. So like it's probably powerful, and like if you had all the like internal data for the map, I'm sure the team that turns in more wins. But it doesn't feel good, so like I'm not that happy with it.
What would you suggest to get a better feel from the mechanic? Anything that you can think of, or
I'm not sure.
Okay.
To be honest, the thing is with hypotheticals like that is there are an infinite number of suggestions we could have, and something like this is actually really, really difficult to know for sure how it'll feel to play it until you actually implement it. That's something that a lot of people don't really appreciate. You see a lot of like bystanders on the internet and such who talk about hero design and all that stuff, and they've never actually designed a hero and implemented it and tried to play it in a MOBA. Like, anyone who has Warcraft 3 experience designing stuff like that or worked at a game studio understands that it's way more complicated than just writing out a skill set, guys. And same thing goes for maps. It's going to be really complex to like experiment with and find stuff that's like, really fun, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of weird things in this map, like the Merc camps. You have, I believe, 4 total, right? There's 2 night camps, the boss and the giants. So like, it's that boss from Sky Temple as well. So it's not the super. That boss is kind of weak early on. You can kill it pretty easily. So like, when you want to do something when there's not gems to turn in, you can take your 1 night camp, you can take the 1 giant camp at the bottom, and you can take the crappy boss at the top. There's not much you can do to, like, outside of just fighting and getting more gems. There's not much you can do on the map outside of that, just because the Merc camps are limited and they're not super impactful. So it just feels like there's a lot of, we turned in, now we keep looking for kills and farming more gems.
Yeah,
I
find the Merc camps have a big impact when you get a turn-in. If you know you have a turn-in, if you can pick up Merc camps to push with, it's very good. But beyond that, I would have to agree.
Yeah, if you can get a Merc camp pushing before your turn-in starts, then it's really powerful. But that boss pit, we are going to see so
God, yes.
many throws.
Oh,
That
yeah.
boss pit is like this thin, and the boss is way in the back. You gotta run in there. Oh God!
We talk about
You're gonna
Sky Temple
throw.
being a throw pit. Like this is actually
Yeah.
just like a chamber of death. You walk
Yeah.
in here and you're gonna see the game's gonna be lost here. Like
Sky Temple feels like a green, grassy, wonderful field amount of throw compared to this place. Like, oh my gosh, that throw pit is going to be unbelievable. I can't wait to see teams just throw away enormous leads in there. It's going to be so much fun.
It's very similar to the boss on Blackheart's Fate, but you're deeper inside. On Sky Temple, whenever they come to contest the boss, you just back out toward your side of the map. But
Yeah.
on this, where do you go here? You're already like
You
committed
can't
so
leave.
to the boss, and then you have no escape. It's like, well, okay, we're dead.
Yeah, you're cage matching Bonesaw at that point. I mean, you are not going anywhere. It's over. So yeah, that's going to be fun.
I mean, I haven't got to see any scrims on it yet, so I don't.
I'm excited. You know,
I'm excited to see
I
it,
think it's
so.
going to be in playing Kings of the Storm this weekend, and unfortunately I'll be away for Easter. But I really hope we get to see some games played on it, just to get some competitive idea of what we're going to see in the future for that map, because obviously it's going to evolve over time. But I'm excited because new maps is, I think, what makes this game exciting personally.
Yeah, I can't wait until I hope at some point that users start being able to develop maps, because I think that is going to be insane
Yeah,
when that starts happening.
when they first announced the game, they said yes. And
Yeah, but now
then
they're kind of
like maybe. I mean, I think they're just
Yeah.
more worried about getting the game out to the public in general. So.
yeah.
I can understand why they didn't want to do it initially, because we have heard them say, they don't want people to just go make League of Legends Summoners.
Right, and that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. So.
At this state of the game, I think people would aim to make more maps like they currently do with the map rotation and Blizzard.
People that are already in the game would aim to do that, but people that are not necessarily in the game yet might not.
Yeah.
So,
One day, though, I hope
who
so,
knows?
but
Yeah, I really hope we get that eventually too, because it just gives us
Some
so
of the
much.
best maps in StarCraft 2 map pool. were-
Exactly.
Ex-
Exactly. GSL maps made by players, not by Blizzard necessarily. Because there's just like a lot more. If you have like 10,000 people working on maps for funsies, they're probably going to hit on some gems. You can't afford to pay 10,000 people.
Truly outrageous.
Gems. I get it, because of the
Gotta
recent
hate.
map.
Ugh.
Coming back.
All right. So, overall thoughts: excited, scared, hopeful.
It's definitely not going to be as boring to watch as Garden of Terror, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
will it be a good map? That's
We're-
the
Hey, if every team would run Judgment, Shadowstalk, and just run around
Yeah.
and gank, that map would be fun to watch.
Our Garden of Terror maps are fun. I don't know what you're talking about. Probably not for our opponents, but I wouldn't know anything about that.
I don't want to touch on that subject. So.
But
I'm
yeah,
just-
actually, I think the map is going to be really active and fun to watch.
Okay.
I'm just excited to start seeing more maps so we can start getting rid of Haunted Mines. Like, Garden of Terror is better than
Oh.
Haunted.
You know, let's transition.
Please.
Let's transition to mines. Talk about the new mines. They've changed it a bit.
Oh my
A lot of upset faces with the new mines. You guys think the changes are just weird? You think it makes it less competitive? You think it makes it?
All you do when you go over 60 skulls is deny your opponent's skulls. You don't gain anything for yourself. So, and we talked about it last week, but as a new player, when you play one game where you have a 100 skull golem and then next game a 60 skull golem, it's like, this is as good as my 100 skull golem. What's going on, guys? Like,
True.
that is such a lame.
So-
So lame.
Many times I've gotten into games and they're like, yo, we've got a 100 skull golem. We don't have to do anything. We just won the game. And I'm like, well, the 60 skull golem is quite different from a 100 skull golem. We probably might not still win this game.
Yeah.
And then guess what? We didn't
All
immediately
your
win.
100 skull golem means is you don't have to defend your their push. Like you can push harder than them, but even then, like a 60 skull goal, like if you were to go Temple Stormers Maelstrom, they had a 60-40 skull split. That's not super scary for the team that had the 60. That's like the team with the 40 can still make something happen there. Like a 60 skull golem is not the scariest thing in the world, and so when you do get those 100 skull golems or 90 skull golems, it's like, this is power? No, this is not power.
It kind of makes you feel like this, right?
Yes, a big-headed butt wing with the monkey face.
That's hilarious.
The portrait kills me. The portrait actually just slays me.
We can't see the portrait because
Yeah,
of the-
you-
Yeah.
Oh, you can't see it on
Only
Skype.
the
It's
stream
fine.
can-
It's I feel like firstly they need to redo the UI for the map now to kind of reflect this change, and I feel like it should be like a skull counter of like 0 to like mine's open, you then see a skull counter that says 0/out of 60, right? So that way if you get up to 60 you're like, okay, I now know that my golem won't get any stronger, but you're still told like there's still 30, some skulls to be collected before the mines will close or the golems will like summon, because it's so
I have
confusing.
A feeling that Blizzard doesn't really want that in the long run.
I feel like Blizzard doesn't
They just
really
should
want this
redesign
map.
the map at that point.
I mean,
Yeah,
to be
but it's just
honest,
like,
it feels like they're kind of just they're doing the best they can to make a 2-lane map work in the game, and 2-lane maps just don't work.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's not
like,
even the 2-lane map. It's just the mechanic that's the thing that's broken.
It's
two
a combination of
lanes.
things.
2 lanes,
2 lanes is a
rough.
problem, dude.
2 lanes is rough.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
mechanic is, I
The
feel.
2-lane is pretty bad because if you were to like say, okay, this game, guys, we're not going to soak experience in top lane and Cursed Hollow. How do you think that game is going to turn out? The 2-lane slows the game down drastically when it comes to gaining experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it would be way more interesting if it was a 3-lane map and both teams' golems spawned in the middle lane, for example, so it feels like tug of war. I feel like that's what it should be. Like, that's what the vision, I feel like, is. Like a tug of war, like how powerful is your golem versus their golem. That's what it should feel like, but that's not what it feels like. It feels like two people derping into opposite lanes and racing each other.
That's what I said.
It
I
feels
said
like
a long time ago, both golems go down bot lane, they have a giant golem fight.
Jared.
Victor then continues the push.
Jared, you'll probably get this reference. Remember the point in time when that's what Alterac Valley was? Who can end the game first? Like, who can end the game first? And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, not
have to
anymore,
be-
though.
it
Not,
would have to
it's
be-
Oh, they've
almost
changed the
before.
map so many
It's
times.
so worse now. Like, the map is just... I
would-
thought before this patch we were starting to see a little bit more Haunted Mines play, and I wasn't too turned off from it, but now it's just like, I don't even want to see mines.
So
It's
just going back in time, looking at things that Blizzard has said in various stages of Heroes' life, they changed their minds, of course. They said their goal was to get the game to about 7 maps, and at that point in time, they would start to rotate maps in and out. Very possible this is no longer true, but if they were to rotate one map out when we get the Diablo map that they've shown us, do you think it has to be Mines because its design is poor? Do you think that it has to be Garden of Terror because you hate watching it competitively?
We still need 2 more maps, right?
We're at 7. We're at 7.
This is so-
This is number 7.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
So one
So-
map would be rotated out, one map would be brought in. In
It's
theory.
It goes back to what Dunk said, where I think it's the 2-lane of the map making it struggle. Look how many times this map has been reworked.
Yep.
Like a hard rework. 3 times, maybe 4, where like the inside of the mine was changed drastically. The outside has been redone 3 times now. It's just way too hard to for them to find a perfect balance with the 2 lanes and the mines mechanic. They've tried. I think maybe with this patch, they're like, we're going to put it into a place where it's not the worst for the team that just loses the first mine fight, while we prepare something new and get it out of the system. Because
Okay.
they've tried way too many times to make this map work, and it still doesn't work.
Okay. Well, I think we're pretty much out of time when it comes to talking about all the balance changes, and we're going to switch over to esports stuff. Any just final thoughts on Mines before we walk away from it? Anything anyone has to get off their chest? No? Good, great, grand. Moving on to esports discussion. And Kev, we'll let you
Yo.
open up this topic with Titan Arena.
So Titan Arena 2, it did pretty well. We split it up in 2-day format. I'm still not sure if I really want to keep 2-day format or not. I'm possibly in the process. So basically, I'm trying to make this into a monthly thing. Titan Arena 3 is already in the works. It's going to be April
18th and 19th.
18th and 19th. I always get these dates wrong. 18th and 19th. So that's already
the
happening
announcement?
in the works.
That
That's the
is
announcement.
confirmed. Titan Arena 3.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's awesome. But we have a pretty cool caster who hasn't been announced yet. Just waiting for confirmation on that. gonna be co-casting as well. I'm just kind of like rotating around. But yeah, I mean, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna be continuing with the 2-day format because it's still kind of rough. But we'll see.
Well, don't do a 32-man open bracket that takes all day if you're doing it one day, Kev.
Yeah,
I don't know why I did that accent when I said that, but
It's a pretty good Australian accent there, Zoya.
thank you, bro.
No.
But it's so Titan Arena 2. I think we had some really great games. Like the Sunday games were absolutely amazing. We had so many great games come out of that day.
God, I have to go look at the.
I
it was a
honestly
while
like
ago.
It
I'm
was so long
struggling
ago.
because it was 2 weeks ago, so I
It was a
can't
while
even remember.
ago.
I cast it with you. I remember nothing. That's why I said
It
go
was all-
Kev.
to caveat this, it was a different patch as well.
It was a different
Yeah,
patch.
To keep in mind that so we're
Esports-
thinking about what's fresh on our mind, like what's new with the game, and
I'll tell you one thing. When you cast 20 hours in the span of 36 hours, you forget everything that happened prior to those 20 hours. Everything.
Yeah, so it was a really good set of games, especially because Complexity was just picked up that day,
Like hour
and then
before their
won-
game.
Yeah, literally, actually, not even an hour, half an hour before was when I got the information, and then they announced during the first set, against somebody else was going and playing.
It was us.
Well, yeah, so it was a really good tournament. We're still working on viewer numbers, but I mean,
I can't really speak to the
Sure.
games right now. Like I'm looking at the games and we won the first two and then we lost the next three,
yeah.
but I don't remember them at all. Like
It was a big comeback on their part, but I'd say I can tell you, I can remember now. Game 3 was the game where against Complexity, you guys decided to go to Haunted Mines and you guys picked Asmodan for
no.
Hey.
That was game 5, wasn't it?
Well, game
That was
5.
Game 5.
Game 5 rather. Game
It was
5. That's what it is.
game
The
five.
final game.
Oh,
You guys decided to
God.
go Asmodan for some ungodly reason, and then they completely deny your aggression because they have Zagara. They completely didn't prevent any damage from being done whatsoever to their wall. They go in the mines. They get like an 88 skull golem or something,
Yeah.
and the game was over.
Yeah, we goofed on that one.
The game was over. It was like
Great.
I don't have any more to say. Like I can't try and justify that.
Yeah. I think Tempo Storm and Maelstrom both had performance issues that day. I'll say that.
That was an interesting. Yeah, we won the first two games, and then I don't even remember the games we won though. Like it's been so long, and so many games from ESL. Man, ESL had like what? We played in like 14 games across.
You had to play in more than that because we played 9 against you and 4. We played 13, and you guys played an extra series, so you guys had at least like 18 or something over 2 days. Like that is a lot of games.
So it was only on my mind. Sorry, Kev. I want to talk about your tournament, but I can't remember any of the games.
Dude, honestly, like I'm not that upset because I can't even remember that much from the tournament.
no. I just remember that
Check out the
really.
mods. I mean, there were some really cool games, but they're out of meta now and out of patch.
Yeah.
But they're on my YouTube, youtube.com/am2.
Yeah, Flintlock linked in chat.
But let's just put it this way: Titan Arena 3 coming up in 2 weeks, 2 change weeks, 2.5.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's gonna be same prize pool. And
I'm
that's
excited
about
to
it.
hear who this caster is going to be.
Ooh.
Excited.
It's Jeff.
Secret,
Jeff
secret.
Caster. I finally landed Jeff Caster to be my caster.
Jeff Caster.
He was made for
Jeff
it.
Caster.
That's awesome. All right, moving over to ESL Americas. We'll start with Americas. Kubi, we had a bit of a grind. The players had a bit of a grind.
More of a grind. Honestly, that is exhausting amount of games to be playing. Like Dunk and Jared were talking about. That's a long time. How does that look? I guess we can talk about that first. Like the stamina of the event. Like how tired were you guys at the end?
Oh, it was bad. Like
It was bad. Man. It was bad.
that was bad. Like it was. I believe once the final game had ended, it was from the start to finish 12 and a half hours just for the stream being alive.
It was over 12 hours.
So like neither team was continuously playing that whole duration, but just to be focusing and being in a tournament mindset for that long, very tiring. Just like if you're just sitting there, it's
So
very tiring.
if it's not your turn to play a game and you have a break, whatever, are you watching the games? Are you sitting there as
Yeah.
a team eating food, watching, and just
you have to watch.
You
Like,
have to. You have to.
Like the Tempo Storm versus 2-Arc set, for instance. I know Maelstrom was watching that set because they're playing whoever wins that set next. So they want to know everything that they do draft-wise, where they overextend, where their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and try and exploit that in the next series. So even if you're not 100% sure you're going to be playing against that match, like we watched the very first set of the day, I think it was Maelstrom versus Complexity. We didn't know who, well, no, I forget.
That was the first set of day one, I think.
Okay, never mind.
Day two was us. Day two was us for the first set, I think. Or
oh, yes. Okay,
second set? No, first set was 2-Arc and Complexity in the loser's bracket.
Yes.
That's what it was.
And played
and we all, even though there's no guarantee that we're going to get knocked into the loser's bracket, we watched that set just because you have to be prepared for that team.
Right.
Plus, it's a new patch, so it's like, what things have they found out already that you want to learn?
Yeah.
So during the downtime, you're definitely watching games.
Okay. All right. So that means I could pick Dunktrain's brain about things that I might say wrong in my cast. Very good. I'll do that later. So, all right. So we just had a lot of really memorable series. 2-Arc versus Tempo Storm day one was actually just kind of ridiculous. I remember that the finish there was, it was on Reddit before we were even off the cast that night. So that's how you know the cast was, or the games were memorable. But I mean, Dunk coming off of that event, having to go through that long day of grinding, and then coming off with a win, does the win mean more, or do you wish the day was a little bit shorter?
I'm not sure that the length of the event has much to do with how the win feels. I think what's way more important is like the amount of hype it generates in social media and the quality of the games and series. I think those two contribute way more to like how good it feels to win than like whether the tournament was long or short. Because like, let's say it had been like a
I kind of asked two questions at once, so I guess disregard that half.
From the loser's perspective, I can like say the finals were delayed to the next day. It would have felt worse to lose the next day than it did that day. Because when we lost versus Maelstrom, we knew we got outplayed, and we were just happy it was over. So from the loser's perspective,
you were just like, it's over,
yes,
the day's over.
With this 13-hour exhausting tournament. Though if we would have played the next day, that would have hurt more if we lost then, because we're ready to play, you know. But from that day specifically, we're like, we lost, we got outplayed, and we're not playing for 13 hours anymore. We're done. So from that perspective, it felt better for us. I don't know how it would have felt from the winner's perspective, though.
I'm pretty sure our team agreed if we were coming from losers bracket, like, we would give up on trying to get first, because, like, at the end of that day, winning 2 best-of-5s just seemed like there's just no way that I want to take out 2 best-of-5s if I'm coming from the losers bracket. So, like, that's a really heavy, like, mental drain, too, on, like, your spirits are just not going to be that high if you know, like, God, even if I rip out this best-of-5, I have to win another best-of-5.
I've never been happier that Tempo Storm lost when you guys won that series, because I was exhausted. I was starting to get delirious. We had drank 2 full cups of coffee. 2 full cups of coffee.
Not cups.
Or pots of coffee.
Nice. Full pots of coffee.
Fresh pots!
So let's just say that, so it did end in the first, there could have been 2 potential best-of-5s for the finals.
Yeah.
But that ended the first best-of-5 with a 3-1 for Maelstrom winning.
Yeah.
We played 14 games that day with that. So if both of those best-of-5s in the finals would have went to Game 5...
That's 20 games.
That would have been a 20-game day.
We were ready to go until 6 a.m.
We were ready. We had caffeine gum.
You guys couldn't play the next day, right? Or there was
Maelstrom couldn't. Yeah, they could.
Yeah, I don't think we could play the next day.
And we're just like, okay, we're doing this. Like, we're going at 6 a.m. if it has to be. That would have been...
We were mentally prepared, but when it ended, we were also mentally prepared for that.
The first thing, like Arthelon said was, "Thank God it's over." Like, the moment we knew what we lost, he was like, "We're done, man. This is so exhausting," because that was brutal. I like the ambition ESL had with it, but
I just maybe
that many
there will be probably some changes.
Yeah, I think
there will be some changes to the format.
Yeah, Matt has already said there will be changes to the format, so you can expect that. Well, maybe not format, but the scheduling at the very least.
Everyone was expecting every game to go to bed.
Right.
That was really weird.
You have to plan for that contingency.
Every single set.
But that's the. I mean, I just got to say, that made it by far the most memorable event we've ever done. Period. Just because each and every series going to Game 5 means the games are incredibly close, and that's awesome. So everybody came with their A game.
It felt like that too. That was
Yeah.
the best part about casting. I was just like, man, these guys all came to play, and it was so exciting.
For
From a
us, day one-
spectator,
Go
from a
ahead.
spectator, I was completely hooked. Like I was just sitting there, like yeah, 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 and I was just like, oh my god, they're gonna turn around. And then I was like getting on to like, I think it was 10 p.m. and I was like, all right, well I gotta go hang out at Nebulous. I want to keep watching these.
Smash tournament.
I will tell you right now, Nebulous, yeah, it's a Smash tournament. I was like, I tell you right now, I never watch streams on my phone. I was sitting at Nebulous, I was sitting at the restaurant afterwards, everything. I just had the games up and I was watching. When I left for Nebulous, it was 2-0 against Tempo Storm.
It was 2-Arc. 2-Arc up 2-0.
2-Arc.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
God.
Oh my god, the fact that Tempo brought that back.
I was like, yo, Tempo's just gonna completely tilt. They're gonna lose. I'm just out. And then
Right,
I
that's
got
what
on
we
the train, and I get out of the train, and I check Twitter, and I'm like, I gotta turn on this game.
Yeah?
Yeah, reverse all kills are so much fun.
Oh my god, especially
all
because
kills are incredible.
like they had just lost to you guys, and then Tempo is down. They're down on their tournament life, and they
Yeah.
brought
They had lost how many games in a row at that? Was it
three.
Yeah,
Three
that's
games.
what-
games? They were down three
Yeah.
straight games.
Yeah,
so
it's hard. It's hard to mentally come back
it
from
is,
that.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah,
we
I
were
think
trying
the
to highlight
key
that. We're like, this is
the key
brutal.
was Tempo changed up their draft and fixed it against 2-Arc, and 2-Arc didn't react, and Tempo just got to crush them out. It was actually really impressive for them to like come from losing and then like switch up your draft to something that works and like use that to take the series. I was really impressed.
And
seeing that.
it seemed like, honestly, it seemed like you guys were starting to force them into things a lot because they were
Yes.
playing in a very specific manner. They were running a lot of Diablo. And in the later games, it seemed like you guys were starting to just like predict the way they were initiating and try to
Yes.
start to play around that.
Who is it? Panucci?
Yes.
Panucci.
Yo,
We
Panucci's
found-
Diablo.
Well, that's part of the reason we end up turning to. I mean, no, yeah, no. He overextends a lot, and once we realized that, we were able to blow him up at the start of every fight. We also found a few things where if we were very crippled against their Zeratul play, which we tried taking one game, which ended up falling on its face
Yeah,
because we hadn't played Zeratul in
it
so
did,
long.
yeah.
So we just started banning it out. That helped. And we also found that they leaned on Uther and Malfurion a lot. So if we were
You guys started taking them
denying
and-
those
yeah.
early on, it felt really good in the other games.
Just see, all of the teams made adjustments on the fly in that event, and that's a great example of one.
Yeah.
But it was just beautiful to see because you guys know each other. All four of these teams know each other so intimately because our scene in North America might be smaller than the rest of the world, really. But I think that actually creates a really cool dynamic.
Yeah. If you go back to the Titan Arena set where Complexity ended up coming back versus us from 0-2 to 3-2, and then that set 2 as well, it just shows you how powerful the drafting is in this game
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how important it is to be able to adjust them. That's the power of a best of 5 specifically, because if those were best of 3s, we would have beaten Complexity and Titan Arena, and we would have lost a 2-Arc then. But the best of 5 gives you that time to figure things out and then adjust. And if the other team can't react in those 3 games, it's game. And that just shows you how powerful the drafting is in this game.
Yeah.
True.
Drafting is an enormous portion of this game compared to play. I mean, drafts, like, honestly, I think almost every game on ESL, like, I could look at the draft screen and tell you which team won the game. Like, it's really, really seriously. I don't know if that's a symptom of small character pool or maybe just the way things interact in the game, but it really does feel like drafts, like, decide the game.
A lot of time, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really exciting thing, though. At the beginning of Heroes of the Storm, I was like, you know, it's such a short game that I really want to say that drafting, if it takes too long, it's just gonna start detrimenting. Like it's that much of a hindrance on the fact that drafting is gonna be like 7 minutes long, and yet all of a sudden we only have like a 7-minute game. I was like, it feels like it's just outweighed because in League of Legends it's like a 7-minute draft, but then you go on to a 40-minute game. But I feel like because drafting is such a big part that we do need to focus on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
To have that like 50-50 is really not the worst.
Yeah, and that's why it's important from a casting perspective to understand as much about the game as possible because the drafting is very important. So you need to be able to read like why this hero was picked and explain why
Yep.
and what it does in these certain compositions. Just drafting is so powerful and
When I
it's very
started
important to
casting, that
understand.
was by far the hardest because I have no mobile experience. So I'm just like, all right, here we go, time to learn, and it took a lot of studying.
It's more than just there's so many heroes that mold well together.
Yep.
Like for instance, I forget who was denying it from us. Might have been Maelstrom, but Diablo Tyrande is a super powerful combo, and we were was it you guys that denied it from us?
I think at least one game we did purposefully. We're like, okay, the way the draft was looking, it was like, okay, we know that of the tanks available, the most comfortable they have is Diablo.
Yeah.
So if we take the Trend, they don't have the Diablo Trend combo, and that really, really mitigates Diablo's effectiveness and
Yep.
how scary he is. So we definitely intended to do that at least once.
That's smart.
Like, there's so many of these intermediate like just between two heroes that
Yeah.
make it powerful. So like just because you see Stitches a lot in this composition doesn't mean necessarily it's because of all those heroes work well with Stitches. It's because these certain heroes and being able to read that in the middle of a draft and being able to deny those certain combos and stuff is what makes the drafting so powerful.
Yeah. Like 2-man combos are especially potent if there's like a 2-man squad that's really powerful and you can like get those in a rotation together, like the enemy doesn't have time to like adjust to that. Like that's the kind of thing, it takes a lot of like, it makes drafts like swingy, but it takes like a lot of foresight and thinking like, all right, of the things available, like what really powerful 2-man combos are available, like which can we afford to deny, which can we afford to play against, like how can we build a comp around that. I mean, the draft phase is really complex. I love it though, but I mean, man, it's crazy. You can just lose or win, but it's fun.
It's fun, yeah. I love drafting. It is so much.
Yep.
It's part. It's like one of the major beauties of this game. Just the draft itself is so.
And the
much
mind games we have between teams that are so, they know each other so well. The mind games that happen, the respect bands that come out, just the history of the teams coming to play in the draft. It's all part of the story that, in the competitive Heroes of the Storm that I like a lot for sure. But just kind of moving forward as I lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Good train.
The train.
Train crashed.
Train crash.
The train crashed, guys.
I'm right
Got
here. I'm
dunked.
fine, guys. Don't worry.
I was about to say. What's that thing? Got dunked. EU ESL.
Yes. EU.
EU
Europe.
ESL.
That is it. That is, in fact, the next thing.
That was a roller coaster. There were so many games
Not a
that I
train.
thought were like, huh?
Not a train,
No,
a roller coaster.
not a train. Trains stay flat. Roller coasters.
You hear the
Go
dunk
up
train,
and
you're
down.
flat.
There was.
Not dunk coaster.
Anyway.
Guys are silly.
Yeah, there were some really great games today, and just the best of 5 series. They didn't disappoint. Just like the NA series, but unlike NA, they didn't go to best of game 5 every single gosh darn series. But they had a lot of really good games. Like Fnatic was playing really weird for a lot of it. Like they were much on. I think the roller coaster follows how well Fnatic's roller coaster was going too. They were like some games they had everything together, and some games they were just. It seemed like it was like 5 people playing, and they I guess happened to have the same banner on. It was.
Which team won?
LD.
It would be LDLC.
Yeah.
Okay, and who was in the finals with them?
Game
finals
Gamers
finals?
2.
G2.
Okay.
G2 was playing really well too. They had some. They were the ones who were like kind of busting out like the Abathur and all the really weird picks.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
We should,
The fact that we had
started
respect ban on
streaming G2.
Abathurs and
They're
stuff.
really weird.
Saishu, is that his name? The tank.
I'm not going to try to pronounce anyone's names.
Gonna give up on that one. He was the one who had like really. He was the one who had the 5-man mosh pit. He was playing really well from Gamers 2. ADRD, of course, he's also on there. He was really a standout player. I feel like the entire time.
Yeah.
Yet LDLC just in general, like they're just one of those teams that nobody particularly stands out, but they all do just amazing stuff that you could just always point out. Yeah, I can't barely even pronounce that. I don't I don't have to pronounce it until we start getting to internationals. Saishu?
Sounds good to me.
LDLC, I don't think anybody really particularly stood out to me, but just their they had that cohesiveness that I always look at for Cloud9 Maelstrom, like C9, you guys just, exactly that mind meld. Like, everybody capitalizes on something the instant that opportunity exists, and you didn't even know it was going to be there like a millisecond before.
You can see that when one person steps forward, everyone steps at the same time.
Yeah,
You can
exactly.
tell. You can see that in their play for sure.
But yeah, so it was really, really cool. I think they were really great finals. And Calaris and Todd were doing a really good job of casting. I was just saying in chat, Calaris is
Was Claris and
team
Todd
fight?
casting?
Today
Yeah,
it was.
Calaris and Todd.
Today.
Today it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
It was Kaldor.
Kaldor the other
yesterday.
2 days.
Kaldor, Kaldor had to
But
go.
Calaris's team fight casting. Oh yeah, they also
His play-by-play is great. It really
His
is.
play-by-play is I'm gonna say it. It's the best. It's the best that's out there right now. Like his team fights, like he gets the information out there clearly. He doesn't stutter. He doesn't stop. Like I know I have the problem where I'm just like I'm trying to process what's going on and I'll stop for like a half a second or a second and just like and then continue going or I'll stutter on a word.
Yeah, I definitely.
His is just clean, just incredibly clean. So I was really impressed with just everything that came out from the ESL EU. It sucked that I couldn't put full attention on it though, because I was at work, so I was
Yeah, I
still
have to
working
get-
while doing everything
I have
else.
to watch the games as homework this weekend.
Definitely.
I didn't get to see them all.
Yeah.
The EU does weird stuff, man. They are weird. I don't know how else to put it, man. They draft Thrall all the time. They draft Abathur, Arthas. Like, what are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, we saw Thrall
we have the
Arthas.
same patch here, man.
I cannot
Yeah.
wait until there are lands. It's gonna be so interesting and so much fun.
It's gonna be so different. That's the great thing. It's not even just gonna be like who's better. It's like gonna be styles clashing, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. And especially if we have Asia in here too, like I want to see Murky play. And if anyone's gonna do it, I have a feeling it's the
Have you
Asia
seen
Oceanic
Hot
scene. Like
Dogs? Have you seen Hot Dogs?
He's
Murky.
number
third
3,
highest win rate.
third highest win rate.
We're gonna
Hot
see
dogs.
him soon, bro. We're gonna see him soon. Don't worry about it.
Jared's already on the case.
Caffeine is
make it happen.
extremely excited about the prospect of Murky.
Oh gosh.
People think of me as the OG Murky player. No. It's Caffeine. He beat me to 10 the first time around.
Jared,
That guy used
Jared,
to play
you just admitted that you're completely fraudulent and now you're off the show.
Yeah, I mean honestly, Zoe, I think that's the only reason we had you on the show.
Yeah.
ripping pasta.
Ripping pastaroni and cheese.
Oh yeah, they had a Diablo today that ran block.
What?
Yeah, it made sense
Oh.
because they were
Was it like
they're
Illidan
against-
Block.
Vala or
Block O. Oh heavens, no! Not block.
it's still uncommon. It's still uncommon.
That's like the most common pick
Block.
against. I mean, so here the enemy team's composition was their damage dealers with Sergeant Hammer and Illidan, so it makes sense. But like
Why'd
seeing
you lead it up like that? They had a Diablo that ran.
Dude, when I'm a
Block.
Diablo player, that's what I'm gonna focus on. It's like the weirdest pick that I've ever seen, ever. Like
They ran Abathur, bro.
not that surprise.
No, Abathur's totally chill, but block, man.
Block. Diablo crosses
Yeah.
so many lines.
Yeah, let's not get crazy here, guys.
Kev sips his water.
Anyways,
Like, what are you doing?
Abathur's a cool guy. We're just kind of going for a walk.
You're not going for a walk.
God, I just watched some of the recasts. It's terrifying. Never do that again.
So we saw Abathur, and we saw Abathur using evolution on a wide range of heroes in those games, which I think is really cool. It just kind of gives a cool idea of just a lot of flexibility in those fights, and I'm actually very hopeful for the future of Abathur for sure.
We'll see.
I'm not that hopeful after watching those games. I really don't feel like Abathur did the most ridiculous amount of stuff. Because he wasn't even like, even when they were getting pushed in on and like ADRD had full ability to push on the only lane that their top lane at the time that still had a keep, his pushing didn't even actually make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And they weren't even,
Abathur's
Yeah,
they weren't even pressuring top lane at all. They were just like they were staying between
it's more.
LDLC was staying between mid and bot because they knew if they got that that single or two kills there in mid or bot, they could just end the game. So ADRD was sitting up top with Abathur, and trying to push with, I guess, Locust and whatever, but it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't even getting close to like halfway to the other side before the game was over.
I think it's the effect that he can have soaking is still very relevant. Maybe the push isn't, that you don't have that free push all game, but you have that soak available. And I think it's hard to disregard that fact because that's a very big thing. I mean, we look at Vikings having a big impact because they provide something like that. And
and there was actually a game today where I think it was Fnatic was running Vikings, and they were just like desperately. It was like 17-14 in the levels, and they were desperately trying to have those two Vikings sitting 2 lanes and soaking, but the game was just ending. I don't know. It's getting that soak is really good, but if it costs you the early game and your enemy can capitalize on it, I feel like it's just not enough.
Well, you gotta have the right composition for it, so it doesn't cost you the early game.
It's true. It's true. You gotta have that murky Abathur, man.
Mercabather.
Murky Abathur is the terror.
It is terrifying.
It's the most frustrating thing in solo queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard. He just doesn't die, especially the new Murky.
I'm getting angry thinking about those games.
I thought that was your Murky sound attempt. I was like, that was very
oh
bad.
God, that's awful. No. The trick to making murky sounds is to try and swallow your own tongue.
Well, all things considered, I think both events were phenomenal. I think it was a good baseline for growth here in
What was the peak?
in Heroes. Peak viewership.
5?
North America hit 7,188. There were over 2,000 days of time consumed watching on Saturday alone. 2,100 in something days. I think 2,153 days of time watched. There was only 8,800 unique viewers, and our peak was 7,100, which means the viewer retention rate was incredibly high. That's
What
did you
teams
think
were
like a
playing?
docket or something?
I made a document. I'm making reports because it's my job. I do this
Jake,
for a
Jake,
living.
Jake.
So,
Jake.
huh?
What teams were playing during that peak, huh?
During that peak,
What,
Tampa
what
Storm,
team-
Tampa Storm, and
What was about the other team, man?
was it Cloud9? I don't know.
It's so weird.
It was Maelstrom, bro.
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you people? I'm on a podcast with you people. Can we stop zooming in on our faces?
I know, but I have this little fancy remote that I can zoom with, so it's fun.
I have to use it, of course.
Hey, I have one of those too, I think. I can get in on this action.
All right, good, great, grand. No, but seriously, that kind of growth without any Twitch front page, it was good to see.
It wasn't on Twitch front page?
It wasn't Twitch front page.
I actually assumed that it was actually because the viewership was so high. The fact that it wasn't on Twitch front page
that's why it's a big
and
deal.
the viewership grew, that's really impressive.
That's why it's a big deal for us because
Yeah.
we put Heroes on the front page as one of the games,
Yeah.
but it wasn't actually on Twitch front page. So, I mean, like I said, the most impressive stat there I've worked in esports for a long time in terms of broadcasting, and if we only had 8,800 something uniques and our peak was 7,200, that's ridiculous. That's actually ridiculous. So, really, really hopeful for the future of competitive Heroes. But on that note, I think it's time to let Kubi do his thing.
Oh, what is this? You give me 10 minutes?
Kubi's question.
There's good discussion happening. Kubi's questions has always been a filler.
In the history of our 57 episodes, when have you ever thrown Kubi's questions to Kubi initially? This is horse crap, Jake.
Yeah. That's another point.
Handle Kubi's questions introductions.
Handle it.
And now I'm upset.
I've been.
Handle it.
I'm sorry. Do we even
One
want to
thing I
do
need
it,
to do on
Kubi?
this
Is that enough time?
We can do it.
Is it enough time?
Yeah, well,
we'll just do a quickie.
Just do it.
I can cut the VOD into 2 parts if I have to.
No, just go.
Okay. All right, Jared. Hey, Jared.
Kubi's questions. Now I'm upset, so this is all you get. Kubi's questions.
What?
Kubi's questions.
He's just like grunting it out.
Kubi's questions.
Kubi's questions.
I like it, Jared. I like Jared. Take Kubi. Take
Okay.
it away.
Hold on. I need to get something.
You're not even ready.
Oh, no, I'm ready. Okay, all right. I need to open this up with everyone's thoughts on a particular subject really quick. 30 seconds, each of you. All right, and I'll give you the order in which you give me the answer. Okay.
Wow, this is getting serious.
Okay. Oh, last or 2 weeks ago it was real serious.
Yeah,
All right. It got really serious. All right. The topic is common talents between heroes. Okay, we're gonna start this off with Jake. You have 30 seconds.
The last like 8 Kubi's questions have been about
No,
this.
they haven't. What?
Common
You're
talents.
wasting our time, Kevin.
Sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
Process specialist. All right, Jake, start. You have 30 seconds.
Wait, so can you repeat the question? Common
Oh
talents
my
what?
God.
Oh,
I heard common talents.
Common talents between it, like I don't know.
I'm just announcing them?
That woman. No. I want you to give me your thoughts on it. Is it good? Is it bad? Like, how do you feel about it? You have 30 seconds. Really quick, why? you
Okay,
feel that way.
common talents are great because they add something that's familiar to every person in the game. It makes the game more accessible as a whole, and they have strong impacts. You don't need to tailor every single hero specifically because that's not how other games work in general, but it's nice to have specific flair as a whole. Things like Protective Shield and Healing Ward are good baseline things that heroes like to have. If one healer had Healing Ward, Rhaegar would actually be broken. So by having it be a common talent adds diversity and more viability to a diverse pool of heroes.
All right, that was 27 seconds. Pretty good. Okay. That was good. You gave all your thoughts on that. All right, moving on.
Why is that funny?
Because you
Sawyer.
actually didn't breathe the entire time.
Yeah, you were like, boom, and Sawyer just started like getting whisked away in the storm.
All right, that's good. That's exactly what I'm looking for, though. I want to hear opinions and explanations. All right, Kev, you're up next. Go.
Common talents I feel are pretty interesting. However, I like what Blizzard's been doing recently, which is they're starting to name them into different categories. So we've got Problem Solver for Tychus because his acts a little bit differently from other people's. I feel like that's something that's really smart. Something that has a very common base mechanic, but for different heroes acts a little bit differently. That's why I think, something like Problem Solver, and I think they started renaming a couple of other ones to be their own little like niche for those heroes. It gives, and just make it the same icon.
All right, time. Good, though. That's good. I like that. All right, Jared, you ready?
Overall, it depends on the generic talent. If they're a well-designed one like block and they're not too overpowered, it gives people a sense of, like, when you're new to the game, you're not completely lost. Like, oh, I take block on this hero. Okay, this gives me a nice segue into playing this new hero to me. So as long as the generic talent isn't something absurd, but it fills the role well, I think generic talents are fine. But dumb ones like Gathering Power they had to be tweaked several times before they found an okay place, and mainly they're not even an okay place. Those heroes that have Gathering Power that we steal.
Time.
30 seconds is tough, man.
It is tough. I did a specific amount of time. All right, Dunk, you ready? Go.
Good
The
start.
most important thing is that right now a lot of the generic talents have a very, very serious impact on game flow that is not matched by alternative talents on the tier, and that is the fundamental problem.
Didn't even need 30. He didn't even
Short
need
and
30.
sweet.
He's
Short and
done.
Sweet. I like it. Okay.
Boom.
Now that we have everyone's thoughts, I'm going to propose a little thought exercise. Next week, Blizzard releases a patch that says any talents that are shared between heroes have been removed from the game. Discuss.
That would put the game in the meta would be just like completely like lost.
The game would
for,
be
like,
in a terrible place.
Yeah,
But
there's
why?
There's so
And
many.
is that a problem? Because you guys kind of have some differing opinions. So Jake, you seem to really like it. Other people, Dunk, thinking some of these are too
Heroes-
strong. Do they need to? All right, that's what I'm trying to get at. Not
Heroes
obviously
that
this
get
is not a good
impacted
idea.
heavily, like Sergeant Hammer, Illidan, both get impacted heavily by imposing presence. Those heroes get exponentially stronger because imposing presence isn't in the game anymore.
But they also use first aid.
Well, I think imposing presence is a lot faster than first aid.
So
there would be a huge balance shift in which heroes are good and bad because of some of these generic talents. So
And
there's so many.
Healing would be way weaker. Healing would be so
Yeah.
much
Going
weaker.
through the list, I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't think about this as much before, but healing, especially the support heroes, they rely a lot on common talents between, and I wonder if that's a weak point in the Blizzard design
see,
between heroes.
that
But
was the
continue.
first thought to me. Is I'm a support player, right? Rhaegar is the first guy that comes to mind. I think of Healing Totem. Healing Totem's not Healing Ward, right? So therefore, it's not a generic talent. Right?
So he gets
right?
To keep
Therefore,
it.
it's not a generic talent.
Oh
That's my logic, right?
God.
That's my logic. If that's the case, because that's a unique thing, totems make sense on Rhaegar. He's a shaman, right? Makes sense. He would keep it. he would be too good if other healers did not have Healing Ward, and it would offset the balance so much. But I guess my rebuttal to your question is Sizzling Strikes not searing attacks?
Oh,
I found something in my beer.
I'm asking you.
Okay, I would consider those the same thing.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay, so you guys are saying immediately bucking at the thought, and you're like, okay, this is going to really mess with the meta. Some heroes are going to be super strong. So which of these common talents between heroes are necessary? Like three that are absolutely necessary. Amplified healing?
Amplified is
I don't
almost.
think any are necessary.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah, I don't think they're necessary, but I feel like the one that's gonna have probably the biggest impact of going away is gonna be unless are we excluding
that's
like
ki-
level
that's kind of
20s?
Yeah, well, that's another.
Because
top-
Bolt is.
Oh
Bolt
God,
is
Bolt.
gone.
Oh, yeah.
We got an issue. We gotta
I don't think you can get rid of 20s.
But
Well, that's not the question, Jay.
I don't. The game would be so linear because what else do you have at 20?
But like, shouldn't it be fun to get your upgraded ult at 20? Like, it's not fun when you have 5 effing bolts on a
Okay,
team.
alright.
Like, oh, a team hit 20, they got 5 bolts. Cool, now nobody can hit skill shots. Yay! Like, dude, go home and write up some better ultimate upgrades. Like, are you kidding me? Go to Dota 2 and look at Aghanim's Scepter and what it does. Like, oh my god, some of them are boring. Bonus damage, cool, don't use those. Look at, like, Earth Spirit. It adds an ability that interacts with his kit in an amazing way, and, like, or gives them spell immune piercing, or, like, all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, please give me relevant ultimate upgrades so I actually have choices over Bolt.
Okay,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Dunk. You could argue the same thing about a lot of heroes level 16 talents, where it's just like you have to take blood for blood. Wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
I argue the same thing all the time.
yeah, Blood for Blood is.
But it is like a must take on so many heroes. So, all right.
Pretty much like every hero that can get Blood for Blood, it's just a must take.
Yeah,
because
you have to take it. You don't have a choice.
I don't think there's. Yeah, I'm trying to think of one hero that has Blood for Blood that you don't take it on. There's some that you sometimes pick something else, like.
Honest.
Oh yeah.
Sylvanas,
I
maybe,
forgot.
yeah.
I really don't even. I need to play her a lot more, but
Rhaegar is probably
But for the most part,
yeah,
Earthguard.
Rhaegar. And that's only because his other level 16, literally slows an AOE for double that.
okay. That's something to think
But that's about it.
Yeah.
So you guys are for the most part okay with common talents as long as everything is balanced with it.
Yeah.
To the point where, so should we? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because I'm sure that they would love to change these talents if they had time to like go through and balance to make everything stronger. But should
I honestly don't think it's that bad though. I think that some of the generic talents, I don't know, they don't feel like poor game design to me. Like depending on which ones, I don't feel like it needs to be the point where every single talent in the game is unique.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be.
I just want to convey the point again. This game is supposed to be very easy to get into. The introduction level is supposed to be very. It's just you go in, you read your 4 abilities. They're pretty simple. Some are familiar from game to game. You understand it, boom, and that's without generic talents. If everything's different, the accessibility of the game dwindles.
How about this, though? There shouldn't be wrong choices. And right now,
I
there
mean-
are a lot of wrong choices on the talent tree.
Can't argue.
Actively wrong choices. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about, like, bad or suboptimal or, like, oh, sometimes maybe a little bit, kind of, if you're
Right.
feeling in that mood. I'm talking wrong,
Yeah.
okay? And that is a problem.
Yep.
And a lot of those tiers are because of the shared talents.
True.
Yeah,
That's
true.
a good point. So maybe. And
So,
that's another question. That's another topic.
should they be tuned down? Like, are you're I'm guessing hinting at blood for blood.
I think Blood for Blood should be tuned down.
I don't think so. I just think everything at 16 should be impactful, like Blood for Blood.
tuned up. Like you don't
Tuned up,
necessarily
okay.
have to nerf
True.
protective
Right.
shield.
Well, that's what I was
Like,
trying to avoid saying
everything else
that
up.
mainly because I'm sure Blizzard would love to make it so that everyone's choices at every tier are like impactful compared
Yeah, it's
to
gonna be
some of the
hard.
common talents. So it's just like an easy like yeah they should buff it. They want to do that. They don't have time. But okay.
There are
Uh,
very few talents that are so broken that they need to be nerfed. It's more that everything else is just poop, like Dunk said,
Poop.
and they need to be cleaned up.
They just need to clean up their butts.
Anyone of the opinion that the common talents should be very situational? Like reserved for situational, like Mule. I think Mule fits a pretty good, like in that category. Do you think that they
Mule's
should
not
try to?
situational.
I don't think you would grab that on every map.
Only Kevin would say that meals.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
making a joke. Yeah,
okay,
no,
yeah, I
I'm just
forgot.
joking.
Yeah, yeah. But I think
Um,
that's something that fits. So I'm trying to think of a good like Blood for Blood is only you would take that if there are 2 tanks on the enemy team. Like, should it be tuned in such a way that that's the only time to take it, or do you
No.
guys like it as is?
I like it.
It depends
I mean,
what your goal is
Yeah.
with the system. Like, I think it should be. You have to be careful if you're thinking, like, okay, every generic talent, suddenly we have to design them all so that they're niche, right, and counter a specific strategy. Like, that might not be healthy either if every wacky strategy that people think of can be countered by, you know, specific talents that, like, otherwise useless. Like, that's not healthy either. You need to find a right balance where it can be healthy but not, like, shut down strategies. Like, it's not okay that cleanse can shut down strategies. That's not an okay thing. Even though you don't pick cleanse every time, the times when you do pick it, it's too impactful. It's not okay for the game health. So, like, that's the kind of thing you have to be careful about.
Yeah.
Jake?
Are you saying to rip cleanse?
What?
Are you saying to rip cleanse? Are you saying to remove cleanse?
Yeah, just like I'm saying to remove Bolt of the Storm. I'm not actually saying to remove them. I'm saying to make viable choices,
Okay.
or like alternatives, or make them balanced.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at, and this is the funny one, is that I'm looking at Azmodan, and even when Azmodan was like in style, in vogue, etc., Blood for Blood was getting picked up on Azmodan.
Well, that
who's
was the
supposed to be a
tank
specialist
Azmodan,
to
yeah.
push.
Yeah.
Even then, though, it's like you're trying to make a push hero that's gonna be specialist and all this stuff. You give him Blood for Blood, and people are like, yeah, I'll take Blood for Blood instead of
Yeah.
like, Imposing Presence and Demonic Smite and Battleborn, which are all 3 really cool, even Imposing Presence though. But it's just like it's when you have that type of a hero and Blood for Blood is still the #1 pick. It's like you need to look at a couple of these things.
Yeah. That was a healing ward Blood for Blood Asmoden build for a long time. It's very
Even when you went Globe, like if you went for Globe and build, it was
You're
still
gonna go healing
you were
ward
taking-
if you went Globin,
You were taking Blood for Blood every time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
That's
matter what
always-
build you
that's
went on.
pretty
on
much
Azmodan,
always
it's
been
always
in the
best.
Azmodan
Yeah.
build.
Yep.
So
'Cause
it's
you got-
just
That's the crazy thing though. Like Blood for Blood doesn't feel so godly unbroken.
Till you
it's
stack 'em.
so commonly picked. It's just the go-to for so many heroes.
It feels unbroken when you got 3 of them and you just melt
I was
through
gonna say.
Diablo's health pool.
you get 2 or 3 of them, then it starts feeling a little bit broken. Especially because
Yeah.
it's just considered like 15% HP burst without even being part
That's-
of your kit.
In that situation, it feels broken, but you don't go, I'm going Blood for Blood because there's 2 others on my team. You go Blood for Blood because of Blood for Blood.
It's
Now,
still-
individual gameplay perspective, Blood for Blood does not feel,
We're not
Oh,
drafting
that's it.
for blood is what you're saying.
but there are situations where it's like God tier.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kubi?
So
I am satisfied.
He's
Good
satisfied.
discussion. We'll cut it off here.
Okay. Shout out times, boys. I know we hate to cut it off like this, but try to keep it to 2 hours for the Twitch VOD. Make my life easier. And Jared, start out with you.
Hey, you guys follow me at Tempo Zoya on Twitter. Something really cool happened this week. I am no longer employed at a job. I am officially
Really cool. No job.
a job. I am officially full-time esports. I dropped out of college about a little over 2 years ago to pursue esports, which at the time was really dumb, and it's still probably really dumb to drop out of school. But I am officially full-time esports. And
Congrats, dude.
That's the thing. So feels really cool to be in that state. So
When are you going to the
Town Hall-
Tempestorm house?
In a month. I'll be moved in officially in a month. But for now,
Hypa,
still-
hypa.
So it just felt really cool to have that dawn on me, and Town Hall was part of becoming that state. So I'm really happy right now, and it's cool and stuff. It was supposed to be uploaded during the show. I might delay the post till tomorrow. Dreadnought went and broke down Game 4 of the ESL match versus 2ARC in the losers. It was on Sky Temple. He broke it down, all the fights, and did a really heavy analysis on the game. Probably still uploading it tonight, so keep an eye on that for Reddit. It's just give a little insight on how we think as a team and where we think we struggle in fights and stuff. It's really in depth, so that'll be
Hype.
uploaded soon.
That's awesome.
Keep an eye out for that. And yeah, just keep an eye on this YouTube channel, and we're going to be dumping out content, guys.
Like
We've already
this-
started streaming a lot. All 5 players move into the house this week. The last one gets there Saturday, and they are going to be streaming machines. So keep your eye on Tempo Storm.
You guys are cooking a big Easter dinner.
We got so much done.
So Jared, what's the actual Tempestorm URL? Why don't you plug that?
Because we don't have 500 subs yet, it's we don't have it like youtube.com/this. You have to hit 500 subs before you can like use a name.
Damn.
So we have this long UCSN9 thingy. So I'm gonna post it in the chat.
You guys, everyone follow that. Help them get to
Yeah.
that 500 so that they can.
We only have 2 videos up, but we already have 140 subs, which just feels cool.
I'm not subscribing till now. Bam.
So we're getting there, guys.
So-
But
Sick.
keep an eye out for the. Oh yeah, we also Glaurung uploaded a video. The audio's kind of bad, but the content is really good. So if you
Guys,
want
I
to
did a
go,
good job with that.
So headset sponsors, talk to Temple Storm so they can get better audio. And Kubi.
that's it for me.
Kubi. Oof. This is the part where I'm always like talking about ESL, but now it's a bit of we have a week off. I don't know what to do with myself. I feel like Jared here. But relegations I think are happening early next week.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday, and it's a little bit interesting. I don't know how much of these things are public yet in terms of teams. Do you know, Jake? If
Just wait for a post. I don't want to.
Okay, yeah. Let's not
Just
go.
spoil it. Just spoil it. Go, 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 go.
But it's a little bit interesting, and I also think we have the monthly
Sunday.
Monthly's this
monthly
weekend.
qualifier
Monthly.
is
Yep.
Sunday, and then
So
Monday's
the top two-
relegations, and then Tuesday season 2.
right.
It's
so,
like-
so top two from the monthly will qualify to go into the relegations the following day, and then season 2 starts up very quickly. So be looking forward to that. Should be some good content, and if it's anything as good as first season, I'm excited. That's it.
Kevo.
So, that's the official announcement that I said before. Titan Arena 3 coming in April 18th and 19th, so be sure to tune in, check that out. I've started out having somewhat of a streaming schedule, so Monday nights at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I'm starting to stream for 3 to 4 hours. You can check that out at mlg.tv/sham2. Follow that out, and check that out, and then just the normal Twitters. And then just shout outs to all the freaking casting that you guys have all been doing and all the players you guys have been putting on such great shows. And I'm excited just for everything that's been growing and everything that we're turning the scene into. It's been awesome.
All right, Dunkus.
You can find me personally on Twitter and Twitch TV, both at Dunktrain. So just Twitter at Dunktrain and twitch.tv/Dunktrain. I stream, and you can get my random thoughts and content on my Twitter if that's what you're interested in. Big shout out to Cloud9 for basically allowing me to chase the dream. Sponsors G2A, Logitech, HTC, NVIDIA, ZAM, Overwolf, Lawglass, and check out the Cloud9 website, cloud9.gg as well, guys. Also my teammates, but I mean, nobody really cares about them, let's be honest. So
None of them are important.
Correct.
Dunk, thank you for coming on. We do appreciate it,
Yeah.
especially getting your insight after the big win. So
Yeah, congrats.
Congrats.
On the big win, man.
Yes.
First
Congrats.
place is
thank you
awesome.
very much. Yeah, thanks. It's really awesome to have the chance to do that.
Okay, and just for me, same old stuff. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. It's SolidDickGG on all 3. The Daily Quest, that new series, continuing to do it. It's been a little bit rare in the last week because I just was playing so many games on the new patch. I just wanted to be as fresh on the new patch as possible. And well, the kitty, this is the #1. She is now a Cloud9 Maelstrom fan. Temple Storm lost, so she's no longer wearing that Temple Storm jersey. She switched over to the
fair
side.
weather fan, eh?
Yeah.
my gosh,
One of
She
those.
really is.
the cat.
Maybe he's one of those, man.
She is. She really is. She's always rooting for the team that just came off a win. Well, and yeah, so that's going to be it for us here on episode number 57. Dunktrain, once again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Next week, we've got another guest lined up. Do you want to announce it here?
Yeah, Furious Steve from 2 Arc.
There we go. There we go. Furious Steve will be
Yes.
joining us next week. And shirts,
Eventually.
maybe soon.
Hype it, hype
No
it.
spoils.
Till next, guys. Peace.